Hello there, rise and shine. It's another day we are alive, and I am super excited at this opportunity to bring you the AM show. It promises to be an exciting one today, and much later after the news on the review, a member of our political desk, Samuel Imbura, will join me while we delve into the headlines and look into the papers. We've got a lot on our table today, right here on the AM show for you. Much later, you know, we get very interactive as well, so you don't want to go anywhere. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lanza, and I'm ready to serve you the very best of news and news analysis this morning. Please don't go away. Up next is the AM News. If you're just joining us, this is the AM show, and I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lanza. It's now time to bring you the latest news. The Electoral Commission says Parliament is undermining its efforts at having a credible voters register to organize national elections. For more than a year, the EC has failed to convince members of Parliament to approve a new constitutional instrument which outlaws the use of the guarantor system to register as a voter. In its place, the EC proposed to use the Ghana card as the sole identity document. But the MPs have rejected this, recommending to the EC to maintain the guarantor system. This is a position the EC disagrees with. Kwekwa Sante has more in the following report.
The Electoral Commission has been struggling to secure parliamentary support to change the existing constitutional instrument, but has failed. The new CI, if it becomes law, will make the Ghana card the sole identity document to register as a voter in Ghana. This will outlaw the guarantor system, which Jane Mensah explains is fraught with so many challenges.
As a commission that is determined to conduct credible, transparent, fair and peaceful elections, we were keen to establish and uphold the integrity of the foundational document, which is the voters' register. Hence, our proposal to use a Ghana card as the sole document for identification of a person's citizenship, as well as age. Our experience from the 2020 registration exercise, ladies and gentlemen, showed that several minors and foreigners using the window of the guarantor system found their way onto our roll. During the registration, some 40,000 minors and foreigners were challenged, and we managed to expunge some 15,000 minors and foreigners from the register. The question we asked ourselves is, why should we continue to use the guarantor system, which opens the door to corrupt and illegal practices and undermines the credibility of our register?
The EC chairperson, Madam Jane Mensah, is worried Parliament is not doing enough to support its effort at organizing credible elections.
As a commission, we find it unfortunate that our efforts to strengthen the credibility and integrity of our voters' register, and by extension, our elections, by the introduction of the draft CI, did not receive the support of Parliament. Members of Parliament were of the view that the NIA should fully operationalize its mandate before the CI could be considered. Sadly, as we all know, the NIA has not fully commenced its operations nationwide due to a lack of resources. That leaves us with no option than to rely on the current CI with its inherent challenges to conduct a voters' registration exercise until such time as the NIA would become fully operational.
However, the Commission says it is not backing down and will not amend the proposed CI to include the guarantor system. The Electoral Commission has also announced modalities for voter registration exercise, which is scheduled for Tuesday, 12 September up to Monday, 2nd October, in all its district offices nationwide. The district level election will also be held on the 19th of December this year.
Draft CI that is before Parliament, we do not intend to put back the guarantor system, because we do not believe that the guarantor system has augured well for us. 30 years ago, when we took this journey and we did not have, a Ghana card, it was only proper that we adopt a system that would ensure that people who didn't have any documentation could come on board. 30 years on, as an evolving democracy, we now have the Ghana card, and we are saying that we must rely on it by the very laws that Parliament made. That is the LI 2111. And it's the surest way of ensuring or guaranteeing the integrity of our register. What and who we are preventing are foreigners and minors, and they do not qualify. And so we intend to maintain the draft CI.
Asante for Joy News.
Away from that story, the Ghana Police Service is automating all road traffic fines in an attempt to remove the human interface. The technology, Traffic Tech GH, will capture videos and pictures of drivers who flout road traffic regulations and send offences via SMS. Defaulters have 14 days to pay their fines or attract a penalty of 1% each day after that. Samuel Mbura was at the launch of this project and reports.
Amendments to the 2012 road traffic regulations of LI 2180 grant offenders the legal right to challenge their violations. However, to exercise this right, they must pay the fine within 14 days from the issuance date. COP Francis E. Doku, Director General of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, emphasized that this initiative aims not only to instill discipline but also curtail alleged extortion cases involving officers.
Oh, well, I cannot put my finger on the board, but I can tell you that we want to look at a 3-month sensitization, and then we'll start a piloting and see how it goes.
So let me find out from you, would this build a trust between the public and the Ghana Police Service? Yeah,
you see, digitization has come to stay, whether we like it or not. And once there is digitization, the issue of interface, human interface, is taken off. And so the police will now be deployed for other equally important duties.
And do you think this one will reduce the reported cases of alleged extortion from drivers?
My brother, if there is no interface, there is no human interface. Of course, these alleged corrupt practices will be eliminated.
Driver unions have expressed endorsement, yet their focus lies on the practical implementation of the project. David Abuado speaks for the commercial transport operators.
I'm very glad about this news because the whole world is transforming and we cannot be left behind. If they are going digital, I think it's okay. But you see, on my first question that I asked on the floor, that DVLA says they are going digital. And since DVLA says they are going digital, it's 2017 till now we didn't see anything digital about DVLA. If the police or the Traffic Tech Ghana is going to work, I'll be very happy because it's not going to leave out we, the commercial drivers, neither the private drivers, neither the politicians. Everybody will be involved.
But addressing these concerns, David Safo Adontin, who is the Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, assured that preparations are in place for a smooth execution of the project.
For example, we are now talking to the Department of Urban Roads to map up a strategy to see which ones we can strategically mount the cameras on and see how we can ensure constant flow of power or servicing or maintenance. So whatever the challenges are, the Ghana Police Service through this project are going to go into very strong collaboration and partnership, identify the critical problems that result in malfunctioning of some of these traffic lights and fix them. We can do it. And so it's just the beginning. We have the next 6 months to roll out this project. And I believe this period will give us enough time to be able to address all the gaps and challenges that we see coming up.
Meanwhile, the Traffic Tech GH project, which is under the Police Invisible Eyes Are Watching initiative, is set to undergo a pilot phase in Accra and Tema before its nationwide rollout. Reporting for Joy News, Samuel Mbura, Accra.
And to the courts now, former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah is fighting off claims that property found in her house and bank accounts are tainted. She says the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, is in flagrant breach of its own enabling law and is merely seeking to perpetrate an arbitrary exercise based on nothing more than suspicion, and she believes this is fueled by misrepresentation and media frenzy. The OSP is in court seeking to confirm the freezing of Madam Dapaah's account and also seize properties found in her house. Richard Kojonyako is with our legal desk.
The court was a virtual one as lawyers for the OSP and that of the former minister, Cecilia Dapaah, joined the meeting virtually to make the argument on the application filed by the OSP seeking to confirm the freezing of the account of Madam Cecilia Dapaah and also the seizure of the properties found in her matrimonial home. The OSP contends that the move is to facilitate its investigations on corruption and corruption-related offences. According to the OSP, Madam Cecilia Dapaah has several homes, and the fact also reveals the ownership of the amount of money found in her home and in her account remain in dispute, and the sources and origins of the money also remain highly doubtful. Hence, the OSP triggered its investigative powers. The OSP also says on the 24th of July 2023, his office, upon a search conducted at the residence of the former minister, led to the discovery of huge sums of money staked in the house, consisting of an amount of $590,000 and 2.7 million Ghana cedis. This was after the OSP says it initiated investigations into suspected corruption against Madam Cecilia Dapaah following information arising from the criminal case. The OSP prayed the court to grant the application to confirm the seizure and the freezing of the properties of the former minister. The OSP, however, did not mention the amount of money standing to the credit of the former minister in the banks. Lawyer for the former minister, Victoria Bad, opposed the application. She submitted that the application before the court has been brought in contravention of the very statutory provisions that the OSP purports to rely on in invoking the jurisdiction of the court. She indicated that the fact that the sums of money were found in Madam Dapaah's matrimonial home is not enough ground to suspect or imply that those sums of money are tainted property. Likewise, she says there is no basis to suspect that the monies in Madam Dapaah's account are tainted property, especially when banks are routinely required on a daily basis to report suspicious transactions. And thus, the assertion that the OSP needs to freeze the account to facilitate investigations is unjustified, since every information he requires in the alleged suspicion of tainted property will be contained in the bank statement. For her, the application has been brought in flagrant breach of the OSP's own enabling legislation and seeks to perpetrate an arbitrary exercise of powers based on nothing more than suspicion fueled by misrepresentation of fact and resultant media frenzy, and that the court should resist the temptation to be enmeshed in illegality. It was also revealed in court by the OSP that both the former minister and the husband were placed under arrest and granted bail. In fact, the court has adjourned its ruling to the 31st of August for determination of this case. Reporting from the court complex, my name is Richard Kojonyako for Joy News.
And here in our studios in Kukumlemle, I'm Bernice Abubedulansa, and this is the AM News. To some other stories, in Kumasi, traders at the Asafo market are protesting the establishment of a new bus terminal at the redeveloped market. They say the location will create congestion and impede emergency exits. There's more in the following report.
The new terminal, located at one of the entrances of the redeveloped market, belongs to 2M Express transport firm. The traders argue its operationalization will create unnecessary congestion and hinder emergency services.
We won't allow 2M to convert this space into a lorry terminal. This is the only major entrance to the market.
This is the main gate. Where would we pass if there is fire? Do we operate lorry terminal here? There have been several calls on them, but they are not heeding. He should go to Bantama and erect the structure, not here in Asafo.
The other time, when someone fainted, we had to use a relatively longer route.
But the CEO of 2M Express, Daniel Ochema-Boache, claims he has the authorization of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to operate his transport business in the space.
The issue is that the space we have is part of the entire stretch of that construction that has gone about over 100 stores. So we bought that space. They sitting there right now and claiming the place is an entrance. It's not true. The city engineer will not sit down for you to close the entrance. There are entrances to the marketplace. And if you look at the drawings, if you look at the block plan, all those things are there. So I don't think there's any problem. We have legally acquired this space. Now, obviously, as a former lawmaker, I'm not going to do anything that is not compliant. So that is basically what the issue is. It is a space that is being redeveloped. The women have been given space to move. The assembly member actually confirmed it. I'm sure you people may have recorded him or something like that. Confirmed that, yes, they've been given space to go. Our structure is not blocking that alley entrance. It is still going to be there. You just have to clear those two containers that are blocking the way right now.
The company expects the traders to channel their grievances to the KMA.
The place is already redeveloped. Okay. If they're going to resist it, and you come and destroy something of mine, we don't live in what do you call it, in a jungle. There are cults and there are places you can go and seek redress. If they want to continue to demonstrate, that is their right. If they hate or destroy anything of ours, we're going to take the appropriate measures to seek redress and make sure that businesses are not collapsed. You can't hurt somebody's business or destroy property. We'll make sure that we also prepare and deal with them in places where we have to deal with them.
Okuma Leaks reports read to you.
Now, many children in the Bibiani Ariaso Bekwai municipality of the Western North region are abandoning the classroom to engage in illegal mining. According to the municipal education officer, this is affecting basic education. Mensin Gold Bibiani Limited is trying to make a difference to help deal with the trend with the introduction of a highly subsidized education at its basic school in Bibiani. Erastus Asaredonko has more.
The Bibiani Ariaso Bekwai area has been prone to illegal mining for years. With time, many of its young people are attracted to artisanal illegal mining. The Ghana Education Service says the development is taking the young ones from the classroom. Sharif Kwekudia is the municipal public relations officer.
We still have some of the schools that are not having the needed infrastructure. Even some of them are still sitting under trees. And then because of the mining and then these galamsey matters, you see some of the children, hardly will they see them, will you see them participating actively in academic works. They are all trying to go into these mining areas, galamsey and stuff, for daily bread and stuff.
Mr. Dia was speaking at the first graduation of JHS students of the Mensin Gold Bibiani Limited Basic School.
Education is a right, but it is a shared privilege to be a student of NGBL school. It's a privilege to sit in a comfortable classroom. It's a privilege to be taught by experienced and dedicated teachers. It's a privilege to be under the tutelage of teachers who are themselves disciplined and have the moral right to discipline students whenever we go wrong.
The company is using its model school to improve education in the Bibiani Ariaso Bekwai municipality.
We initiated this school and have sponsored this school to become one of the best in Ghana.
Mensin Gold is subsidizing education and supporting teachers to improve the standard of education in Bibiani Township. Emmanuel Edu is sustainability manager for the Mensin Gold Bibiani Limited.
As a business, our happiness is where we are able to provide support where young people or needy parents are able to pass through that support to make a living. We all believe that education is the path that all societies may progress. And for that matter, our investment in Mensingo Bibiani Basic School is one of the best legacies that Bibiani can boast of. The mine may not be there tomorrow, but the school will continue to be there. So in terms of generational equity for the people of Bibiani, in terms of harnessing the resources that are around the people of Bibiani, leaving an indelible mark like education, such a school, with such department, with such extracurricular activities, and such performance for us as a business, it's really heartening for us.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
That'll be it for today's edition of the news. We go sip on some water. I'll be back shortly with my colleague Samuel Mbura to get into the papers. Do stay. Thank you for staying on the AM show. Like I said, we went to sip on some water, and it's now time to let you know what the headlines and major stories in the papers are. Samuel Mbura of our political desk has joined me this morning. Hello, Samuel. That's a nice smoke you've got there.
Thank you very much, Bernice.
All right, my brother.
I like your African prints.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. So before we bring you the news, let me just tell you that it's brought to us by Point Homeopathic Clinic. Now, the clinic is offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Here's where you can find them: in Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard; in Kumasi, Kronum Aboyhia, behind the Angel Educational Complex; in Takrade, they are at Anaji Estate; in Tema Community 22, in Techima and Hensia, and in Isiama in Zima. If you're struggling to locate them or you want further enquiries, do call 0244 867068 or 0274 234321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. And let me just thank Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic for helping us bring you the headlines. So without wasting much time, let's start off on the front page of the Daily Graphic, Samuel. And this one, the major story has been culled from that crucial meeting that happened yesterday at the Burma camp here in Accra. And it was a meeting between Chief of Defense Staff of ECOWAS countries.
Exactly.
And like I said, it was a very important one. But the story says, we mustn't stifle democracy, Chairman of CDS declares. And this is a story by Della Russell Oklu. And I don't know, but it's interesting. I wonder how these military men feel about their colleagues in Niger, because these coups are done by their own colleagues. Yeah. So you find a situation where it's almost like calling your colleague to order. And we know how it works in the military, right? Exactly. There's a lot of ego, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of show of strength, muscle strength and power. And much later in the show, we'll be talking about that. We'll be bringing you even data and statistics on the manpower when it comes to military across the sub-region. And it's very interesting statistics, Samuel. But we've been following the situation in Niger. It appears that the junta is adamant or not handing over power back to the democratically elected Bazoum.
We've heard from authorities the responses from the junta there. Their demands are not willing to compromise at all. And they think that ECOWAS is interfering. They've had support from Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, because they are also beneficiaries of coup. And because they think that they are, if ECOWAS comes in, they'll have support from all these people. They are not willing to just say, okay, let's go the democratic way, bring back the deposed president back to his office and all that. So it's actually an issue that is very dicey. And I'm wondering how ECOWAS is going to carry this out. You see, you were talking about the military strength in Niger. So, for instance, if Niger has about 10,000 military men, meaning ECOWAS will have to deploy more than 10,000. Perhaps you have to deploy like 30,000 soldiers to Niger. Because if, Burkina Faso and then the other countries that are supporting Niger will definitely come in to support at the point. So you must have enough men on the ground to control the situation. So if you are going there, you are using brute force. Is it a case that you are going to give them, arrive at Niger, tell them that hand over power, else we'll attack you? How is it going to be done? How is it going to be done? Yeah. Is it the case that the soldiers that are being deployed from Ghana or other parts of the world or Africa, they don't have friends in Niger that they may also, communicate with and all that? So I'm looking at the entire strategy. Very complex. There's a need for cool heads to prevail. I don't think that using brute force is the right way for us to go. We've heard from security experts talking about the implication of it. Now that, it is not even a full-blown war. Look at the challenges that we are facing in Ghana, for instance. Onion market is struggling. Yeah. You, the women, go to the market, so you are in a better position to tell us how much we can buy a bag or a sack of onion now. And, it is going to disrupt a lot. So
it has already started. And you see, there are those who say we aren't ready for war. Yeah. This is a declaration of war. There are people's lives at stake. Right here in Ghana, there are concerns about the position of the president and whether he must go to parliament before we decide to send troops. That's something the minority is strongly demanding, that parliament be recalled. So, you're very, very, very right on that, on the score of the ripple effects. Yeah. Who suffers in the end? There are those who've also suggested that, I don't know if you've seen that video of people coming out to support the military regime in Niger. Yeah, those are the reports we are getting. The citizens are supporting. Yes, and so there are people who say, well, if the citizens support that, is it not to be seen as a form of endorsement of the action? And there are those who argue that, but if the citizens didn't want President Bazoum there, they knew what they went in for. He has a duration. They should have waited until then to use their thumbs and the power of their vote and remove him, to get him out. Yeah. So, we're still waiting. We understand that the ECOWAS has activated the standby force. We're yet to see when they will move into Niger, but that we are told will not even be done in the full glow of the public, as in announcing, of course, that will be letting out their strategy. So we've just got our fingers crossed, and you can get further details of that story. I think, Ghana, too, we have to be very, very, very careful in how we do it. We've lived peacefully with our neighbors, and we shouldn't allow this issue to mar the relationship. In as much as we are signed on to the treaties of ECOWAS, there's a need for us to look at all these things. Yeah, and even the Christian Council has also come out to say that it will prefer dialogue over an invasion of troops. But some of the stories on the front page: Presby Church elects new moderator. Reverend Dr. Abraham Nana Opare Kwache is moderator-elect. And 2023 voters registration begins September 12th. That story is on page 13. Let me just get some details of that. And you're a member of the political desk, so you know this is very critical and important, especially in the season that we find ourselves in. We just heard from the EC chairperson during the news. They have concerns about the CI not being passed. Exactly. And how it is likely going to affect next year's election. The argument by the EC is that they want a more robust system, and they believe, the EC believes, that the guarantor system will not provide it that. So this story is by Vincent Amenuveve. It says the EC has targeted to register about 1.35 million people in the 2023 voters registration exercise, which commences from the September 12 to October 2. It's based on the EC's projection that at least 1,350,000 persons may have attained 18 years since the last registration in 2020. The nationwide exercise will be conducted between 8 and 5 p.m. daily, including Saturdays and Sundays. All right, so the challenge here has to do with the requirement, the basic requirement. The EC is still bent on using the Ghana card. We know the CI has not been passed in Parliament, but the EC is arguing that if you have your Ghana card and your passport, the guarantor system too also combined, it will give you a more robust system than we have now. So the estimation is that by September, many people may have attained the age of 18, and they think that
using the Ghana card is the right way to go. It has faced opposition because people are raising concerns that others have applied for their Ghana cards. They have not received the Ghana card yet.
Right.
Why do you still want to use the Ghana card as the main document to get the voters' ID card? Go to the rural communities, Bernice. It will interest you to know that most people don't even have the Ghana card. So in such instances, are you not going to disenfranchise them? So these are some of the concerns that have been raised.
Well, the question of disenfranchising is answered here. The EC chairperson says the commission did not believe that upholding LI 2111 and enforcing the use of the Ghana card to prove a person's citizenship would disenfranchise citizens, as is being alleged by sections of society. Yeah. So they go on to quote her. But I mean, that's a legitimate point you raise. Yeah. Like I said, during the news, we heard from the EC chairperson, and she says that Parliament is stalling the work of the EC by not passing the CI, and goes on to give reasons why Parliament is doing that. She says that Parliament wants the NIA to activate its systems across the country so as not to disenfranchise everybody. Yeah. But she goes on to blame Parliament. The question for me is, shouldn't you be asking the NIA to do its job? She does admit that the NIA hasn't done that. So the question is aren't you focusing on the wrong entity here? Is it Parliament you should be...
So if Parliament passes the CI, NIA is not ready, what happens?
Exactly.
So I know the NIA boss has been very fantastic at his job. He has been doing all his best to ensure that everyone gets registered.
In fact, he's been very open.
Yes, he has been forthcoming with information.
Exactly.
And all that. But
it's a money problem.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't provide them the required finances to go around, and print the cards, how are they going to do that? The concern is monetary. It's not about Parliament here. Let's get the necessary resources, give it to NIA to get their men across the country, print the backlog, clear the backlog, and then this issue will be resolved. And I don't think that Parliament will hesitate if the backlog from NIA was cleared.
Yeah, right. So we will delve into that much later, I'm sure, as we draw closer to the 2024 elections. But the story continues on page 20. And here, if you are 18 and above and you've not been registered, you're not a registered voter and you want to be registered, because that CI hasn't been passed, here's what you need. The EC chairperson states that you need to show proof of identification here. You either present your Ghana card or your passport. And if you do not have any of these documents, you present two people who are already registered voters to vouch for your citizenship and age. So the guarantor system still exists. Yeah. So that's just by way of information for all of you who want to be on the voters register, looking forward to 2024. On the back page of the Daily Graphic, Ghana Health Service starts malaria elimination program, and communities must derive maximum benefit from mining. That's according to the Deputy Minister, Mrekuduka there. So what do you have?
I'm much curious about the mining, community mining issues. I don't know what the ministry is doing, but I think the Mining Act is clear when it comes to corporate responsibilities of these mining companies. You know, you have some of the poorest communities we have in Ghana are the mining communities. What are they doing with the royalties? What is the Minerals Commission doing about it? What is the ministry, his ministry doing to ensure that the people get their fair share? We mostly hear stories about the communities rising against the mining companies and all that. I think that stakeholders should fashion out a well-developed plan, aside the corporate social responsibilities that these mining companies are supposed to offer the communities, to ensure that at least education is given a facelift. The livelihood of the people there is also better. Whenever I go to the mining communities, it actually hurts me a lot to see how people are getting poorer, how the young girls there are not educated. Their lives are cut short at a point. Some of them get pregnant, and a whole lot of mess in these communities. So I think with this issue, as a nation, we should have a serious interest in it before it
gets out of hand. Right. So I think that'll be it for now. In the Daily Graphic, what do you have on
the Finder with me here? The big story: no panic over health workers exodus. Ghana Health Service to replace them as over 40,000 trained nurses not employed.
No, okay.
That's interesting.
Okay, so Samuel, I mean, fine. It's good to send out that signal of confidence, but is the Ghana Health Service really confident? And I say this because a couple of weeks ago, a young lady called during the interactive segment of the show.
Okay.
And here are her concerns. She says, many of these student nurses come into the system.
Yeah.
And the practice hitherto has been that they learn from their seniors because, as you would agree with me, in every industry, experience has its own place.
Exactly.
Even for us as journalists, when you come in as a young person, you intern for a while, you learn from your seniors. And it helps, maintain the system and ensure that a certain level of quality is handed over to the next generation, right? Yeah. So this lady calls and says, ideally, I should not have the position that I have. But I came into a place where almost all the experienced people have left.
Yeah, that's true. I have colleagues who have left for Canada.
Yes.
Some have left for other countries.
The UK,
exactly,
US. And the point she makes, which I find a bit worrying, not a bit, worrying, is that she says, I'm not a nurse, but she says that many people are losing their lives to situations that they shouldn't be dying to. And it's because of lack of experience. So yes, you have the people.
Exactly.
But do they really solve the problem?
So you see, Ben, is the issue for the past year some of us have been advocating is that, look, we rather look at preventive nursing than management. We have community nurses that are there. They have not been employed. You have trained them. They are still sitting at home. If you deploy them to the various communities, get them what they need, I don't think the issue of malaria that you reported earlier would continue to escalate. So the community nurses are responsible for sensitization, giving them the public education on how to stay healthy and all that. But we allow the situation to escalate. People are now learning. They feel like, no, this is not the right place to practice nursing. I have to go outside there. But this job is actually a job born out of passion. But you have taken the passion out of the people. You're not playing your part.
And we know what the problem is. It has to do with how much they're paid and the conditions of service. So are you saying that, oh, it's okay, we have the numbers, so we'll pull them into the same system?
Let me just give you this statistics. Right. 10,209 applied for clearance to travel abroad. Wow. This is what the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association data showed. That from January to July 2023, January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, half a year.
We have 10,000 nurses. What is the nurses to patient ratio in Ghana? And 10,000 are living within,
are applying to leave.
To leave. So imagine this is granted. Some of them even go without even notifying the
of course.
Ghana Health Service.
So many of them.
Once the bond expires, they go. And it's actually something that we shouldn't be joking with, because we wake up one day and then all our nurses and doctors are gone because of our own policies. You can't blame them. The policies are not favoring them. No. At first, I think there were incentives for people who go into the rural communities to stay. But the incentives are no longer like it used to be. If you want to stay in Accra here, the work stress alone is annoying. And then the entitlements too are not also forthcoming as expected. So I think we should have a holistic conversation around this issue on how we can ignite the passion for the Florence Nightingale's profession, so that people will know that, yes, we have a nation to serve, and the country or the leaders also have a role to play to augment this.
Samuel, it's not as simple as we're being made to believe.
Exactly.
And I feel strongly that as a people, we must develop progressively.
Yeah.
The challenges we dealt with 10 years ago should not be the same challenges we're dealing with today.
Yeah.
So talk about rural communities, for example, mining communities that you cited, being some of the poorest in the country. By now, their statuses should have been elevated. That's the whole point of development. Moving you from point A to point B. So if you're developing and some people are still staying at point A, then there's a problem.
It's challenging. The biggest story on the Finder is the automated system to enforce road traffic laws launched. Yesterday, we had this conversation on the DEX and then JN today as well. So the main idea from the MTTD of the Ghana Police Service is that they are mounting cameras under the Traffic Tech GH initiative. So what they want to do is that in every intersection, they have these cameras mounted on our roads to ensure that anyone who skips traffic, you overspeed, the cameras will capture you, send pictures or videos to a back office, and then that back office will communicate with DVLA. DVLA will provide your details, your number that you have used to register. Then MTTD will send your offense. If the Samuel Mbura, the car number is captured, my details are already on this, then you send me my offense. I have 14 days to pay. So if you don't pay within the 14 days, you have a penalty, or it will attract a penalty of 1% after the 14 allowable days. So that's how they intend to automate the system.
But Samuel, these cameras, aren't they mounted already?
No,
to the best of my knowledge,
what we have now are just surveillance cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, these are surveillance cameras monitoring the situation. But
can those surveillance cameras also, can they zoom in? Because I've seen videos showing some accidents at certain intersections, and those are from the police. Can they zoom in to pick at the number plates? Well, why do we need further technology?
So this system automatically generates your offense. So what we have now, the surveillance one that you are explaining, you are talking about, meaning the officers will now have to enter the charge that you have your offense. Okay. And send it to you. But this system will automatically capture your offense and send it to you, and you will have to pay. Now, the argument may be that, the car doesn't belong to me. Maybe I'm driving Bernice's car, and Bernice, I bought the car I bought the car from Bernice, but we've not done the transfer of ownership. Yeah. So how are you going to work around that? So the police wants everyone who have bought a new car to ensure that the transfer of ownership is made. If not, they can track you and then punish you. So they are trying to remove the human interface between the police on the road. So no longer, they will no longer shoot the radar gun on you on the highway that, you are overspeeding or something like that. Once you go, they capture you. So it is not like they are conscientizing or building that signpost in the minds of drivers that, look, your safety is on your own hands. And also remember that the regulations, you ought to abide by them. So it's a matter of morality here, just like it is done in the advanced countries. You don't need a police officer to stop you that you're overspeeding or you have jumped traffic. Immediately that offense is committed, then the information is gathered and you are made to pay. But you have the window to go to court to challenge your offense. That is where the court can compel the police to bring the evidence, be it pictures or videos. Yeah. Then you can pay your fine.
I don't know if you've seen these viral videos of Judge Caprio in the U.S. His court is one that, sees cases like that. Okay. And there have been instances where people came and they said, well, that's my car, but I wasn't the one driving it. But I mean, that's not, an offense is an offense. Someone has to pay. So the judge says, okay, whatever it is, an offense was committed. But what I like about Judge Caprio's videos is that there's always a human face to...
Once you admit your offense.
Yes. Yeah. So there was a situation where a man who is 90 plus was driving his sick son to the hospital, and it was an emergency. And the judge said, look, I'm cancelling all these charges against you. So I love the fact that people will have the opportunity to defend themselves in court. But I just pray that legal process will be as free and fair. If people, there was a question even about the influence of politicians in your story that we played this morning, and even the constant flow of electricity to these technologies and all. We just hope and pray that it will work very well. What we all want to see is safety on our roads. Yeah. It's very important.
All right. The next paper, Daily Guide, Cecile Dapa's husband arrested as she fights OSP over seized funds. We know the case is already in court. So the next person is a husband who is a renowned architect, is under investigations, and then we were told he was arrested and granted bail. So that's one of the big stories there, captured in page 3. MPP bans macho men mobile phones at voting centers. We know on the 26th of this month they'll be going for the Superdelegates Congress, and the Superdelegates Congress will trim the 10 aspirants to 5 to go into the main congress of the party to elect the flag bearer of the NPP. So these were guidelines that were mutually agreed, that if you are going to the voting center, no aspirant will go with a macho man. No minister will go with their bodyguards to create tension and all that. And you are not supposed to take a picture of your vote. Some people do that to go and convince the people that, okay, they are voting for that. Look, I voted for you, so you have to sort me out. Or they'll promise them that if you take a picture of your vote, I'll give you this. They want to phase that out. So these were some of the mutual agreements that the aspirants had with the elections committee of the NPP. EC starts new registration September 12. We have already discussed that. ECOWAS readies to storm Niger. forestry staff shot by galamseys. That's quite a sad story there. Very, very sad. The last paper with me is the Ghanaian publisher, ECOWAS going to Niger, is also captured. Yeah. I have better strategies for Ghana. Efiri Akoto, you know, the former agric minister, is in the race, and he's convincing the delegates that he's the right person to lead the NPP to victory. And we have Professor Jampo elected University of Ghana UTAC president. Congratulations to him.
Yeah,
the story is captured on page 9. Okujeto Ablakwas write up on the BOG head office cost is also on page 2. One of the biggest stories that I was expecting to see had to do with the floods in Northeast. We know the death.
It's not in any of the papers.
Yeah, the death has actually risen to 5 now.
Yeah.
I'm told that dozens of people have been displaced as a result, and we should be expecting another disaster because Bagri Dam, we've been told that the operators, that's Sonobel, of the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso, they have given an alert. Mostly, they give an alert a week or so before they spill the dam. We've picked that signal. Both the Upper East and Northeast Regional Security Council have been notified about it. And once the dam is spilled, it takes no less than 4 days, and it gets to the Ghana part of it. And once it comes to Ghana, the devastation you can imagine. Most farmlands will be submerged. Most bridges will definitely be affected. Livelihoods, families will be at risk. So it's actually a myriad of challenges that farmers and residents in that area are going to encounter. And we must be worried in Accra because of the food chain. Look, honestly, this is where you get grains, cereals. This is where you get the maize, the beans, the soya beans, watermelon, and then nuts and all those stuff. Yeah. So once these areas are affected, our food security is threatened.
Look, the regional minister was very disheartened about the devastation he witnessed when he went on his tour. But he did highlight what you're talking about, a very critical conversation that needs to be had about how farmlands have all been washed away and how this is going to affect us in the next season when harvest is supposed to be done. Yeah. And Samuel, considering our situation, even with the closure of the ports, not the ports, the borders in Niger, the struggle having onions and other imported stuff, even tomatoes from Burkina Faso and all that, it just makes you worry about what is likely going to happen in the coming months and in the coming days.
It's actually disheartening. I had the figures yesterday from Northeast Regional NADMO office. It will interest you to know that 12,784 people, farmlands, have been affected. We have a total of persons affected due to rooms collapsing. 4,460 people. These are people that have been displaced. Total number of persons affected due to farmland being submerged, 8,324. Total number of persons displaced, 4,460. Total number of houses affected. And you know the northern part of the country, they use the clay to build the rooms or the houses in the community, rural community. So it is obvious that these rooms will definitely collapse. Total number of houses affected are 1,437. Total number of farmlands, that is in acres, that is 3,720. Total number of latrines affected, 89. Total number of boreholes, wells affected, 9. A whole lot of devastation wreaking havoc there. Some of us were of the view that at least the construction of this Palugo multipurpose dam would have come to assuage the situation. But that is another issue we have to contend with. I'm really heartbroken about it.
When we talk about the Palugo,
how my people are going to go through this.
How many deadlines have we missed?
It was in 2019, Bernice. Over 99 million Ghana cedis was committed, over 1 billion Ghana cedis. So if this project was constructed, by now we would have made headway. It would have been able to collect some of the water. Farmers would, I don't know what the exact challenge is, but it's never late. Government can still do something about it, because until you go there, you'll not understand. What happened in 2007, between 2000 and 2008, the floods that happened under President Kufuor administration, we hope that it doesn't happen again. The farmers will tell you the chilling stories about how they lost their farms, people's lives were lost because of these floods and all that. And I think that whenever we make commitment, we make our minds to embark on certain projects, let's commit. Let's not go and organize fanfare and we're all convinced. I was there. I supported the project. I was part of the, the officials that were there to launch this project.
It was an exciting moment. The videos showed a lot of excitement. Like you say, it was literally a fanfare because, the promises and the potential of the dam and how it was going to help deal with some of these issues. It just saddens my heart that, this is a region which is most of the time dry. And all this water which is affecting the region negatively could be channeled positively.
Exactly.
It's just about how we choose to handle the situation. And over the years, we have shown that we haven't done well in that regard. And it's something that, our hearts go out to the people of the Northeast region. And I understand that the Roads and Highway, Deputy Roads and Highway Minister went there some time ago when the road was washed away. And we do hope that there will be some national attention given. Like Samuel is saying, you may think it's far off, but the food on your table will be affected. Well, before we wrap up, though, just a couple more stories. It's been 5 years since Kofi Annan passed.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Our very own Kofi Annan. And I can't help but think about him in moments like this when we're having to deal with issues in Niger and in the SAP region where we are dealing with coups and instability and all that. So the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center is remembering who he was, his unique legacy. And like I said, this is a man who has been highly celebrated globally. There are those who have their issues with him, especially on how the Rwandan genocide, happened and whether or not his influence could have made the story different. But generally, there are those who really appreciate his work and his persona in handling things, even as a UN Secretary General. I just can't help but think about Kofi Annan today as we talk about Niger and the other African countries in the SAP region that are struggling. So the story talks about how KIPTC will celebrate him, and they talk about his career highlights. So you can just pick a copy of the Daily Graphic and read that on Kofi Annan's legacy.
All right, I think that's all from me. But
all right.
I have.
So even the center spread has something on Kofi Annan. Sorry, so there it is. Remembering Kofi Annan on the 5th anniversary of his passing, we honor the life and legacy of Kofi Annan, a true champion of peace and global diplomacy. So the entire center spread is dedicated to Kofi Annan.
Such a great personality.
It's really, really beautiful. I mean, I don't know. He exudes such, not charisma in the way we know it, but he has a certain aura that even in death, I mean, just looking at his photos, you just can't help but...
It brings hope.
Talk about
looking at him brings
who
hope.
He was, yes. And... already 5 years have passed since our beloved husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, family member, and friend left us bereft and in deep sorrow. He was an extraordinary person, an icon for his age, an icon for his belief in the ideals of the United Nations, to which he devoted his life. Because of the trust he inspired, he was chosen as Secretary General of the UN, serving from 1997 to 2006. Wow, almost a decade. And becoming the first Secretary General from Sub-Saharan Africa. In 2021, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. After completing his tenure as Secretary General, he continued his mission to work for a fairer, more peaceful world through the Kofi Annan Foundation. But for him, our world was also essential, and we have so many beautiful memories to cherish. His dedication to the world, but also his dedication to family and friends. We remember his laughter and radiant smile, how he brought us together, how he cared about us and listened to us. His spirit is still with us, guiding our steps. May you rest in perfect peace, knowing the depth of our love for you and gratitude for the tremendous role you played in our lives. You will forever remain in our hearts. Yes, you will forever remain in our hearts. So, that'll be it. So many stories to talk about in the papers, but this is all time will allow us, focusing on the major things that you need to know. Okay, so do get any of the papers today. Also, you can visit us, myjoyonline.com. We have so many stories. ranging from politics to sports to entertainment, showbiz, and to even odd stories that make you go like, really? Yeah. So do visit myjoyline.com for more news. But let me say thank you to Samuel. Thank you for joining me to do this. Well, much later on the show, like I mentioned, we will be delving into issues around Niger and where we are now and what we must be looking forward to. Do stay. We have sports up next.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. This your intro. It's a very scary intro.
It's very scary. Yeah, but is your life so not all about athletics?
Yeah, it's true indeed. Since my school days, athletics has really made me whom I am today. If not athletics, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't even know what I would have been doing by this time.
So if anyone had asked you, aside from athletics, what else would you have done? You would have
that would have been a very difficult question for me to answer, because my life has been athletics.
So aside from athletics, what would Baba have done if I don't know for that sport?
I wouldn't have any idea, because right from my school days, I was a serious athlete in my school. Even before I went to Ghana school, I was an athlete. Through the athletics that I was given scholarship to go to Ghana school. Yeah. Through athletics that Mr. B.T. Baba saw me and brought me to prisons. Through athletics that I got to University of Ghana. Through athletics that I got to Sports Authority. And through athletics that I'm here today. So everything of my life is athletics.
So you don't have anything else?
I don't have a place to go.
But tell us your life beginning. How was it like?
Initially it was pretty tough. Growing up in Tamale with my dad, who was doing very good initially, but later stages wasn't doing too well, so I had to live with friends. I actually attended Catholic school, St. Peter's Primary in Tamale. Those days they were giving food. We go to school, they would prepare food for you, and I had a lot of good friends like Amaliga, Dominic Derry, Grigor Derry. They were all Catholics. So it was just a divine that I didn't become a Catholic. Because I grew up with Catholic friends. I was the only Muslim boy who was allowed to be among the CYO in Tamale. So I would go to church, cathedral with them. On Wednesday, we go and sing hymns. Saturday, we go to CYO meetings. So it was there that I started with these Catholic friends. Till I got to athletics. There was one Mr. Adochim, I don't know where he is now, but wherever he is, I greet him. He encouraged us to do sports when we were in school. Okay. So sometimes he would take a bicycle, we would run to Vitim and run back. That's where it started.
Okay.
We were running back to Vitim, back to
While
school.
He's paddling the bicycle?
Paddling the bicycle, he would march everybody in the school to run. Go until we did one interzonals, and I was first in 200 and 400, and we went to the interzonal. I wasn't having spikes at that time, so I ran barefooted, and I had blisters all over my legs, so I couldn't come back to run the finals. Yeah. But with some strange reasons, when the team was selected for district, I just followed them. I wasn't qualified, I was not invited, but some strange reasons, I joined them for training. We were training. When they were going to go to the inter-district, they did trials again, and I beat everybody. That's where the story started. Fast forward, I was given a scholarship to Ghana School. And when I went to Ghana School Form 1, I beat everybody in the school. And that made me to be popular in the school. And there was one PE master called Apau Mensah. He did a lot. Apau Mensah saw me and knew that I was interested not only in sports, but also in academic work. Okay. So anytime I thought Apau Mensah went around to see who among the sports boys who was in class. When he came to the class and see me in the class, he was okay, he will leave. So if JB is in the class, I'm okay. So Apart Mensah really wanted me to combine academic with the sports. So even though I was very good doing my sports in Ghana school, I was doing so well academically. So when we got to O levels, I passed the O levels. It was a real thing that you see a sports person who was doing very well, has so many records in Tamale. I was even a national athlete, passing the O levels. So my initials, I wanted to go to Tamasco, but my headmaster said no, they are coming back to Ghana school. But there was one person that I need to make mention of, Mr. Charles Adama. He was the best of Ghana school at that time.
Oh, okay.
He actually let me see, he opened up the world of sports to me when I was a student. Those days that Said Awita, Kipitar were running, whenever they won a race, he would call me to his office, me and my brother to his office, oh, JB, you see this person, he has won $50,000. In the future, if you also do well, you also go and win that kind of money. Anytime after we went for interzonals or inter-schools, he would make his wife to prepare very good food.
Because you needed the food?
Yeah, we needed the food. So those people that really encourage us, and they always told us that to take our academic work as serious as the sports. So we never left it back. After training, we go to class. After class, we go to training. That was what we did, because we knew that our background wasn't good. And in Ghana school was a sixth form school, and when I was in Form 4, I was given a prefectorial position.
Huh?
Yes, a sixth form school. A Form 4 student was made assistant sports prefect. So I could go to dining hall with my khaki shorts and with my white top among the seniors, sixth formers, making announcements, and I could punish some of my classmates. It was a fun. It was a fun. I never took that position very serious until now that when I look back. So that was a very great honor given me to be a prefect, even though a junior school, a sixth form school, and a Form 4 student, given a prefectorialship to sit with sixth formers to eat in the dining hall. Whenever they were doing anything, I was always with them. I mean, the headmaster, Mr. Boyle Nasaka, now Boyle Nasaka and Charles Adama, they really did very, very well for me when I was at school.
But as a young boy who was following Catholics, how were you able to withdraw yourself from the Catholic family and got back into your initial religion, which is Islam?
It all started from the childhood. When we were growing up, we had my character that we were going.
Yeah.
Even though I had a very good friends, a close relationship with the Catholic friends, I was still attending my makaranta.
Oh, okay.
If you don't attend the makaranta, you know, they will beat you.
Now that you collect.
You collect it. So I was always have good friends, Catholic good friends, and I was also attending my makaranta. And I also observing my prayers.
Oh, okay.
That went as far as I started getting close Muslim friends when I was in sixth form.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
Oh, then you should just be a Catholic. Then you there with the rosary, right?
So it took me that long.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me that long. Even though I was close to my classmates in Ghana school, Osman, a Wounded Lion, Paul Napare, who was a very...
A Wounded Lion is a nickname, isn't it?
Yes, it's a nickname.
Those days we had them in secondary school, yeah.
Yes, secondary school. And I had a very good Christian friends, like Paul, one guy called Paul Napare, we still talk. He's a very good Christian friend.
Okay.
No, he gave me certain advices when I was in school, and I still appreciate what he told me in school. Anytime I thought I met him, I mentioned it to him that what you told me.
What were some of them?
No, I don't want to mention it.
Just mention one thing.
No, you know, when you are in school and you are so famous, because I was very famous in Ghana school, and things were not too difficult for us. We were trying to do some small bad things, trying to go and see fowls running about.
Oh, but those ones are normal stories.
I killed the fowls and then those JB, no, come. Why have you killed that fowl? So they said, no, don't do that. Please stop it.
Those childhood stories are there.
But it's rarely you see your mates who will call you to chastise you for doing something bad. Because those things, those things were not actually good things. But no, he just called me. Napa just called me to my dormitory and told me that, JB, something like that.
So you were called JB in school?
Yeah, I was called JB. I was still called JB. The Bawa became so unanimous in the southern sector. But when I go to Tamale...
So what's the JB? The full meaning
no, JB means Jabla in Dagbani.
Okay.
Jabla,
yeah.
JB. So in the northern or in Tamale...
like the younger twin.
No, just a twin.
Just a twin?
Yeah, so every twin is called JB.
Yeah, okay.
But because we were doing sports, our JB dominates. So if you hear JB from Ghana School, they're referring to us.
Okay. So you're a twin brother, right?
Yes, I'm a twin. I'm a proud twin.
I'm the younger brother of twins.
Oh, yes.
so you're my younger brother. That's why I'm actually called Nabila.
Okay.
Yeah, the Nabila is from there.
From there, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So from a part of the country, you are known as the younger brother of twins. So the accounts will say Tewia.
In the one they call it Juna.
So that's basically.
Oh, so I was born a twin and I'm still a twin.
Why didn't this with your twin brother?
We were doing sports together. In Ghana School, we were doing our 4x4 was very spec. People came out with all sort of wild stories that sometimes we're going to change our race. We never change races.
Because
we're looking for that.
You're a carbon copy of each other. I remember the last time I met you, I was like, is this Bawa or his brother? Despite how long I've known you, when I see him, I still get confused.
We never change races. Some people think that maybe when it's time for him to run, I will come and run for him. No, we never did that.
You're too identical, so it makes it very difficult for people to actually identify you.
No, we never did, but we are pretty very close.
So how did some of the things you said they were bad that you did, how did that mold you to become a much better person?
I'm so fortunate that most of the times I get very good friends. Sometimes I start to do something, someone will just call me, hey, JB.
Don't do it.
Don't do that, stop it. You are too decent to do that. Almost all the time of time, anything that I want to start which is no good, somebody, even up to today, somebody will just come to you. Either he called me JB, that is senior JB, that he knows me in school.
Yeah.
He's called JB, he's my colleague. He's called me Fusaini, he knows me from home. If he called me Bawa, then he knows me from Southern Ghana.
Oh, okay. And that has really helped you a lot?
It has really helped me a lot, even today. Certain things that sometimes I will do something, even currently, someone will just call me or come to my office. Bawa, Heidi, you said this, you've done this. At the next time, I thought if you have said it this way or if you have done it this way, now I just thank that person.
And you've been fortunate to have people guide you in some of the things you need to do.
Yes. My friends, I always have good friends. I don't know one way or other. People come to me, if they are not good to me, within no time, they have been exposed. Within no time. Yeah, they have been exposed. So people don't understand sometimes I'm so glued to certain people. And some people find difficulty in coming closer.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I always give people the first right of trust. Until you betrayed me. Then I'll tell you in your face that, no, I can't work with you. This is what you've done. I've given you opportunity to do ABC for me, but look at how you have betrayed me. We can still be friends, but I will not have that trust for you again. Oh, I'll tell you.
Wow. At what point did you move from being an athlete and get into the administration of athletics?
Everything happened, should I say, by divine direction. When I was just living athletics around 2007, 2008, there was a competition in Benin that Ghana was supposed to go. And we went to Elwak, was one, Richard Ajapon, and Christopher Mankra. We decided among said, okay, let's try and send a team to Cote d'Ivoire, to Benin, Cotonou for a race. So what do we do? So Richard Ajapon contributed 1,000 Ghana or $1,000, and Mrs. O'Krine, who was a safety officer. Then we went to Sandy Osajima. He was the chairman at that time. He also gave $1,000. We gathered all the monies. We gathered the national team. We took the team to Cote d'Ivoire, Cotonou, Benin. So we were just living at Atlas, but we went there as officials. Little did we know that one day we will be in charge of athletics. So we took the team to Cotonou and we brought it back. And when I came here to do my national service, I was initially sent to the Chief Sport Development Officer's office. So one day, the Ghana Athletics Association were doing a meeting, executive board meeting, and I was asked to go and serve them. So when I entered, Sunny knew me very well at that time. He asked me, Bawa, are you here? So, yeah. So, why don't you come and help in Atlantis office? So, I'm ready to help. That's how it started.
Okay.
And Sandy wanted me to become the Secretary General at that time. But that was the time that his move out came.
Yeah.
So it was that up and down, finally, and then he left. But Dodo also came, and I finished my service at that time. So I had applied for an NSA job, and when they were doing the shortlisting, the first list came, my name was not there. Second list came, my name was not there. The final list came, my name was not there.
Hey, so, 3 separate lists?
Separate lists, my name was not there at all. So I went to then the late Adoko to tell him that if he can do something for me. So when the final list came out and my name is not there, he cannot help me. So whoever that I want to speak to, I should go and speak to that person. But he cannot help. I thank him. And before then, I used to sit with Mr. Walanya Agra at Legon when I was still at Legon.
Okay.
We used to sit at the lovers bench. There was a lovers bench just beside the Legon Hall handball court. Now those benches have been removed.
Yeah, okay.
We used to sit down every Saturdays. We would sit there and chat. I never knew who he was. But we were just meeting there Saturdays. Sit down and chat, sit down and chat. I never asked him who he was. I never asked why we were sitting down there. But we were just sitting down every day. So when I was going, and someone told me that Mr. Agra was coming to take over NSA. I said, oh, that is good. So I called him and asked him, he said yes. So the day that I was leaving Sports Authority here for good, I met him just behind his office. Then he asked me, where was I going? I said, oh, I was going home because my colleagues have all given the interview letters. I was the only person who wasn't given. So that is the reason why I should stay. They said, oh, no, come, I need you. Then he called for the human resource officer, who was one, Auntie Mary. Auntie Mary also said he wasn't there, so he refused to give him the letter. He made the assistant give him the invitation letter for the interview.
Oh, okay.
The interview was supposed to be on the next Tuesday. That was Friday. So I was supposed to have an interview on the next Tuesday. When I went to the next Tuesday interview, just here at the media center here, I spent almost 2 hours in the meeting. When the results came, I had the highest mark. I have 48%, 48 over 50%.
You wrote an exam?
No, it was just an
interview.
Interview,
okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I had the highest mark, 48 over 50. So he called me one day, oh, I'm proud of you. I don't know why he was telling me he was proud of me. Then he said that the interview came, I had a very good mark. So he was trying to send me to Tamale. No, he first of all asked the question that among us, those who were employed at that time, who wanted to go to the regions to develop sports, I was the only person who opted to go to the regions. Then he said, okay, he will send me to Tamale as the RSU, then RSU, Real Sport Development Office. I said, fine, I will go. He gave me a letter. The day that I was supposed to report to Tamale, that was the day the letter was revoked. So that is why I stayed in Accra.
Why was the letter revoked?
There was a lot of agitations. A lot. People didn't agree that I should be the regional sport development officer. So new, a lot of confusion.
Oh, the history of when did you come?
When did you come?
Okay.
So I was actually given a letter. The day that I was supposed to leave Accra for Tamale to assume my new office day, that was the day that that letter was revoked. So I was given an option. Either I want to stay in Tamale, I want to still go to Tamale, or I said the NSA job is a winner-take-all job. It's the boss that determines everything. So even though if I have experience that how to develop the sports up north there, I wouldn't have the opportunity. I would rather stay in Accra. I stayed in Accra for 6 months without doing anything.
Wow.
Yes, till I got to Atlantis.
How would you describe that period?
The period was tough. I could come walk around the NSA, sit around and go home. Come walk around, sit, find any place because I wasn't having an office.
What time was this?
That was between 2010, January 2010 to June 2010. I'll just walk around, come and sit around, walk around and close, sit, walk around and close. But there was no real work for me until there was an issue in Atlantis. The judge, Osafwaje, was having an issue with that, so he was removed.
Okay.
And I was asked to go and be caretaker in Atlantis. That was the initial idea why I had gone through. I was given the job in athletics. I should go and take care of the office for them to look for a substantive person
to come and replace,
to come and take over. So I didn't go there as a substantive secretary general. I went there as a caretaker. And
wow,
the story is everybody to see now.
Okay. Hello, welcome back to Prime Take with me, Muftahu Nabila Abla, and tonight I'm speaking to the Chief Executive Officer. He's no longer the Chief Executive Officer. He's the President of Ghana Athletics, Ba Husseini, and he's been sharing with us his life story. And then, Ba, you were telling me the story of how difficult the days of you starting at the National Sports Authority was.
Yes, it was pretty tough. It's very rough at that time. It was very rough at that time. You know, between 2010 January to 2010 June, pretty rough. I could come, I didn't have a place to sit. I come and walk around. I enter 10 o'clock from the other gate. While I wait time, 2 o'clock, and I will exit another gate.
Were you paid?
Yeah, I was paid. I was being paid. So I was until I was asked to go and be the caretaker of athletics.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was very huge challenge. Extreme challenge. Because I got to the office, there was nothing there for me to refer to. There was no handover. There was nothing. Just the outgoing secretary general had handed over to Mr. Adoko. He didn't hand over to me. He handed over to Mr. Adoko. Mr. Adoko just asked me to go and sit in there for him to look for a substantive person to come and take over. So my first competition was pretty tough because I didn't know how to do the budgets. I didn't know how to write memos. But prior to that, I was assistant Ampomfi Junior in the Swimming Association.
Oh, the current Ampomfi Junior?
Ampomfi Junior, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I really understudied him when I came there earlier, end of 2009. So all the memos that he was asking me to write, and he would directly write the memos, I kept them in my box in the house. So when I resumed, I went back and took all the memos. So when anytime I wanted to write a memo, I referred to that particular memo and I started writing till I became perfect in memo writing.
So you learned on the job?
On the job, yes. I learned on it. There was nowhere I could, there was nobody I could turn to. Those who were there when I came, later on I got to know that all what they were teaching me or they telling me to do were absolutely wrong things.
How?
They were just there to make sure that I failed. One critical example was that I was to do a budget for the African Championship. I called the then chief coach to come and help me do the budget. Everything that the man asked me to write in that budget, when we go to Mr. Doko's side to go and defend it, he was actually pointing to those things as errors in the budget. And there was one particular issue that I stood on that saved me. Because when I went to Mauritius for African Championship in 2006, the athletes were given progressive bonuses. But when I wanted to add this into that budget, he said, no, what Sandy did was wrong. Sandy didn't do anything. I said, I was there when Sandy was giving athletes Vitamin, Erican Cancer, so many of them were given progressive bonuses. When they progressed from one state to another state, they were given bonuses. Why don't you want me to add that bonuses onto the budget? So the athlete can also buy. So no, that was wrong. I refuse. And I still kept it there. He found ways to Mr. Doko's office and made Mr. Doko to remove it from the letter that were moving from the NSA to the ministry. But the memo that I wrote to him, it was included. They went, fast forward, they went to the championship in Kenya. He was the same person who went and told the athlete that I don't know anything, I didn't add progressive bonus into the budget.
Was that deliberate?
Yes, it's deliberate. So the athletes were furious. Geza, Aziz, maybe if you have time, if you get time, you can call them. They will collaborate it. So they came. When they arrived on that day, all of them marched to Mr. Agra's office. Mr. Agra told them that is the athletic issue. It was Bao who did the budget, so they should go and ask Bao. So I was giving marching orders to one of the corporate bosses up here. And thankfully that I work with Professor Dodo. he taught me how to handle documents, how to keep documents. So when I was going, I packed all the documents that I had with me, then we went. So the first one they asked about their local allowance, I said local allowance is coming. The minister hasn't yet given it, but when it comes, I'll let you have it. Then what about progressive bonus? I said they should ask Commodore. I showed them a memo that I wrote to NSA, including progressive bonuses. I also showed them the copy, the letter that NSA wrote to the ministry. The bonuses was expunged from it. So I said, is that my signature? So no, this is my signature. Those things were included. If you want to know the reason why it was removed, ask him. That was where the meeting ended.
so they at least had to tell their
backs to him. Yes. No, they didn't do anything. They didn't say anything, they didn't do anything. The meeting just ended like that and everybody went his way.
That might have been some difficult starting days for you at the ethics office.
Pretty difficult office. So you can understand later in my administration, some people were not getting favored from me, but people don't understand why there was that kind of friction between me and some of them. We always give them opportunity. They always come back to prove to us that they are not people that we can work with. I can give you thousands of examples. One the critical example, when we went to Daegu 2011 for the World Championships, we were the first in Africa, so we were expected to at least go to finals. When we got there, in our the athletes ran very poorly, so we called the chief coach. What was the problem? He diagnosed the problem perfectly, that either Aziz is not informed or Aziz is hiding injury. We were to fly from Daegu to Maputo for the African Games. So we asked him, so what do we do to rectify? Because we need to win gold medal in Maputo. He said, when we get to Maputo, he either drop Aziz or he will do trials to pick the best four. We gave him our absolute support. Whatever he was going to do to get the team gold medal, we were for it.
At this point, you were in charge of running the athletics in the country.
Yes. So we went there. He didn't do the trials. He didn't drop Aziz. And Aziz was the anchor leg. Aziz took the baton. Ghana was leading. He handed the baton to Aziz. 2 steps ahead of Nigeria. The Nigerian ran him down just at the tip, and Ghana became second. So Prof. Dodo became angry. He said, Bawa, this guy is deliberately sabotaging us.
So what role was Prof occupying then?
No, Prof was the president at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I was the secretary general at that time. Yes. He said, this man, I can't work with him. We're giving you our absolute support.
To make decisions?
To make the decisions. You said you were going to do A or B. He didn't do either of them.
Who was the coach?
That was Albano Commodore. So he either he didn't want to win the gold medal, or he was thinking something else. That was the time Professor Dodo told me that, Bawa, I can't work with this man. He kept on sabotaging us. Why should we keep on working with him? That was the start of another controversy with him.
But Athletics Federation, or association, it's been fraught with lots of controversies. Lots of controversies. I remember, just aside from the one you're just talking about, then came the championship that took place in Botswana. Then when we came back from Botswana, then this girl, Martha Bisa, went to China, Niger, where she won the gold. They came back. You were supposed to have a very good will.
Yes.
I think within that period, the goodwill kind of disappeared.
No, just vanished. There were some forces that didn't believe that Professor Dodo should be the president. So no matter what we did at that time, whether good or bad, people will find something negative about it. Look at the Matabisa case. Nobody ever asked, how did Matabisa win that medal? Nobody ever asked. It was the same Professor Dodo who was going through data that I produced for him. Then saw that Matabisa was constantly running 212, 211, 212, 211. So now this girl can do something. Then took her to Botswana African Youth Games.
Yeah.
At that time, the entrance has even closed. But Dodo had to use his connection at the World Athletics to get her entered. he went there, then she played third. And at the youth level, they don't allow one country to present 2 athletes in one event. Yeah. So it was 2 Kenyans. So the second Kenya was dropped, and Matabisa became the second person to the Niger. When they came back to Niger, they took her from Kumasi to Accra. Camp here in Accra. Under one Professor Yandok was training her. And to prepare her for the Nigerian, Prododo took her to the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, 2014. The bashes. But he knew what he was doing. He took her again to the African Championship in Marrakesh, Morocco. Even though she didn't do well, but she kept on improving her time. But he was preparing her for the Nigerian.
For the big one.
For the big one. Well, he got to Nigerian, he won. Nobody ever asked how did he win. And when she was going to the Nigerian, she had her per diem still with Professor Dodo around $3,500 or so. Professor Dodo. Professor Dodo gave her a laptop to study so that he was going to give her a scholarship to go to the US. When we came, the controversy started at the airport. A group of people has come from Kumasi. They already arranged to take her from the airport to Happy FM to go and do interview. The association has also organized with Joy FM for an interview, first interview.
I remember.
So that confusion started there. Whether she was going to the Joy FM or she was going to Happy FM. So at that time, I was the secretary. So my brother came to...
Filipino was the secretary, right?
No, one Dominic Kankam.
Oh, yeah, Dominic Kankam, yeah.
Yes. So at the airport, what I saw at the airport, my brother came to pick me. I said, he spoke that much to me. Teacher, let's go, this is trouble.
Yeah.
We just left. So I don't know how they made it, and the girl went and slept with Professor Dodo for 2 days. Professor Dodo told her that she wanted to send her to the presidency to meet President John Mahama.
Yeah.
So he organized.
At the time he was a presidential staffer.
He organized it with the then minister was Mahama Yaraga.
Yeah.
He organized it there. That was where another trouble started. About the 10,000 Ghana cedis. Professor Dodo wanted to spend the girl 10,000 Ghana cedis. Yeah. And then what 10,000 Ghana cedis? And that has changed so many stories. The story developed legs, head, tails. You didn't even know what was the actual problem. But the 10,000 Ghana cedis the ex-president Mama gave her, they went to Afrikiko to eat. The money was still with Richard Akokovi. And the mother asked for the money. Richard called Prodo, the money is with me. So give it to the girl. It's the girl's money. It's not our money. So you give it to her. At that time, Prof had already secured scholarship for her to go to US. So Prof came there to advise the mother that they should keep some of the money in the bank so that when she's going to the school, they can give to her as a pocket money to go to school. The man, according to the story, the mother said, no, they are not going to put the money in the bank. The money is for them. So they are going to spend the money the way they want it. Then he left. Somebody overheard the woman talking to Prododo and quickly called Happy FM. So Happy FM connected the woman there to speak. So the woman also said that also your first can go to buy, your first can go to buy. It's kind of the and to be able to nobody can show you what we're going to do the money for. That was the story, and the story blew up.
I remember BBC were interested in this story.
BBC came to investigate it for 2 good years.
But they didn't do the story.
No, they couldn't do the story. Because the story, at the end of the story, it was false. 2 years, BBC interviewed, 2 years. The girl came to...
Pierre said was. Yes. Pierre was so interested.
So interested in
that.
Story, they came to Ghana here, did the interviews, and interviewed a lot of people, including former athletes, former executives. They had 2 shadows meeting interview with me, but it never came because we were exchanging emails. The emails, we exchanged email for 2 years. BBC did a story, investigation story for 2 years.
Did that issue affect the Ghana athletics?
Seriously. It affected us seriously. People used it, even this court case was just part of it.
Yeah, the court case.
Yes, it was just part of it. It affected us seriously. But I would have wished the girl should have stood on her ground to tell the truth. Because nobody had ever asked her any money. The scholarship that we're offering her was real scholarship. That was the same scholarship that John Mahama at that time, the President Mahama at that time, made mention in Parliament. They thought what John Mahama mentioned in Parliament was different from what Atlantic Association was giving her. You know, before the President goes to speak, the Minister feed the President.
Yeah.
So we also feed the Minister what the plan that the Association have for her. She also have a scholarship. So through that, the President mentioned it in Parliament. So people thought that was a different scholarship.
They thought it was the President who was giving her scholarship.
You see, so when that scholarship issue came up, that was where the Nathan Ato did the story. In there, it turned another issue.
Yeah.
I don't need to ask you how you're doing, because obviously things are not too well for you and the Nigerian public. But let's start off with how you made it into Ghana. What was your story? How did you leave Niger, even when the coup happened, when you were in that country? How did you run for your life and to make it right into the Republic of Ghana?
Thank you for everything. But before answering your question, I want to correct something.
Right.
I'm not the former chief of staff. I'm the chief of staff of the president of the Republic of Niger.
You don't accept that you've been deposed?
Mohamed Bazoum, who is still the elected president of Niger, then is not the former president. He is the president of the Republic of Niger, the elected one. This attempt to depose him is still ongoing, and it will finish in
So you don't even accept that you've been deposed?
No. Bazoum is still the president of the Republic of Niger, recognized by all the countries in the world, except of course Mali and Burkina Faso, that are in the same situation.
But you can't go back home now because your president is no more. There's a new prime minister, there's a new cabinet.
Il n'y a pas de premier ministre, il n'y a pas de nouveau cabinet, tout ça est nul et de nul effet. Le président Mohamed Bazoum est le président de la République du Niger et le seul président de la République du Niger reconnu par tous.
So basically what he's trying to say, and for those of you who may not understand, is that they do not accept being the former chief of staff. He does not, first of all, accept that there's a new cabinet. He does not accept that there's a new president. He does not accept that there's a new leader of the Nigerian people. All he accepts right now is the fact that there is only one president in the Republic of Niger, and that is President Mohamed Bazoum, who was democratically elected. Now, I'm going to ask you about President Mohamed Bazoum, because I need to ask you how he's doing right now, how he's faring. After the coup d'etat happened, you were there trying to fight back. It didn't work, so you left, but he's being detained now. How is he feeling now as we speak?
Le président de la République va très bien. Il a le moral très haut et il est prêt à se battre pour la démocratie, pour la liberté, pour la justice au Niger. Donc le président de la République va très bien, il a le moral très très haut. Certes, les conditions de vie sont déplorables parce que depuis l'événement du 26 juillet, la junte a mis tout en œuvre pour le démoraliser, pour le faire ramener à un état réduit, mais c'est sans compter sur sa force morale. Donc le président de la République va très bien.
Okay, so basically he's making the point that when you talk about President Mohamed Bazoum, he's in high spirit, good spirit. In fact, morally, his morale is high. He's not down or, you know, dampened. His spirit is not dampened by the fact that there's a new military junta that is controlling the country, except to say that he's been detained. And naturally, when you're detained, your rights are restricted. You do not have the right to move. You do not have the right to make certain natural, you know, adjustments which he would have done when he was head of state. So that is the only confinement in which he finds himself, except to say that he still believes that he's the president of the republic and is in good spirit. I guess that's the import of what the point you're making. Now, you're saying that he's in good health. If he's in good health and is in a high morale, he's been deposed by the military junta, and we've seen the military junta receiving a lot of support. I don't know if it's just my impression, but they seem to be receiving a lot of support. You take a look at when the coup happened, they staged a rally at a stadium, and in that stadium, lots of people filling up the stadium to capacity. It does suggest that there's just something right with this coup d'etat and the military regime that is controlling. People appear to be supporting them. Is that not the case?
Sur ça, ce que je veux vous dire, d'abord, sachez que dans des situations comme ça, c'est toujours le populisme qui prend le dessus sur tout ce qui est rationnel. Alors, donc, la junte nigérienne n'a pas fait exception. Quand il y a eu le coup d'État, la vraie manifestation s'est tenue le premier jour du coup d'État. Il y avait eu une manifestation spontanée. Moi, j'étais dans la manifestation, j'avais conduit cette manifestation. C'était des milliers et des milliers de Nigériens qui étaient sortis pour dire non au coup d'État. Ils ont tiré à balles réelles sur les gens. 4 personnes étaient sévèrement blessées. C'est ce qui a démotivé les gens ce jour-là. Après, eux-mêmes, pour se donner bonne conscience, ils ont organisé un simulacre de manifestation où ils ont pris toutes les nouvelles recrues des militaires, les nouvellement recrues, et leurs familles, qu'ils ont habillés en t-shirt. Certains d'ailleurs n'ont pas eu le temps de se déshabiller, d'enlever leur habit militaire pour mettre leur habit civil quand ils sont venus à la manifestation. Et si vous regardez, quand ils ont attaqué l'ambassade de France, celui qui a été blessé au pied, que vous voyez dans les manifestations qu'on avait prises, c'est un colonel-major de l'armée. Donc, les manifestants ne sont pas des gens, des civils qui sont contents, la plupart qui sont contents du régime militaire.
Why are you arguing so? Why so?
Parce que c'est ce que je veux de vous dire. La plupart des manifestants, quand vous regardez même à la télévision, ils ont encore le treillis militaire, le t-shirt militaire. Et celui qui a été blessé à l'ambassade de France le jour où ils ont fait la grande manifestation, parce que la riposte a fait que les gens étaient obligés de tirer des gaz lacrymogènes sur eux. Il y a un qui était blessé au pied, c'était un colonel-major de l'armée. Donc ça veut dire que la plupart des manifestants, ce sont des éléments, les nouvelles recrues de l'armée qu'ils ont fait sortir. Ça c'est un premier point. Le deuxième point, sachez que le Niger compte 8 régions. Parmi les 8 régions, c'est uniquement Niamey où il y a eu des manifestants. Dans toutes les capitales, c'est l'opposition qui est forte en Afrique. Principalement au Niger, l'opposition est très forte à Niamey. Donc ils ont fait sortir les militants de l'opposition. Le parti politique de l'opposition du leader Hama Amadou qui est à Paris actuellement, il a écrit une lettre pour demander à ces gens de sortir pour soutenir la manifestation. Donc voilà la manifestation de Niamey. Mais quand vous regardez les médias, quand vous regardez les télévisions, vous voyez que dans tous les pays, dans toutes les autres régions, nos gens ont manifesté, y compris à Niamey, où ils ont été tirés à balles réelles.
So basically the point the former chief of staff is making is that we should disregard what is happening on the televisions as we see it, and also making the point that what we have is that the military is just inviting people to create the impression as though they have legitimacy, but they do not have legitimacy based on what we're seeing on the screens, and that they are just bringing their cronies and bringing people who align with them to fill the stadium. So we shouldn't believe what we're seeing on the television. Beyond that, the second point is that Niamey is the smallest region out of the 8 regions that we have in the Republic of Niger, except to say that when you take a look at all of the regions in the Republic of Niger, Niamey is the smallest, although it is the capital. Now that side has a lot of support from the opposition political parties, and we had leading figures of the opposition political parties that incited the public against President Mohamed Bazoum, a reason for which it is creating the impression as though nationally there is support for the military, except to say that in the capital, as we speak, they do not have support or legitimacy. So that's the point you're making.
That's my colleague Blessed Soga interacting with the former chief of staff of the deposed President Bazoum of Niger. We are going to zoom into that conversation right away, and I've been joined by Professor Kojo Epiejei-Etia. He's an international law analyst, and Adib Sani is a security analyst. Let me say welcome to you, Prof. and Adib. And just before we start that conversation, by way of setting a tone, let me just bring in these very fine details that we've collected over the period since that coup happened some time ago. So this is the ECOWAS military action in Niger. The question is, can Ghana afford to deploy? So ECOWAS has activated a standby force for possible intervention, and we've heard from our very own Defense Minister, Dominic Nichewol, saying the military is ready. Now, the ECOWAS Committee of Chief of Defense Staff meeting happened in Burma camp yesterday and today. So we brought you details of what happened yesterday, including that interaction you just saw Blizzard having. Now, so here are the timelines, right? We know that there was a certain ultimatum given to the junta in Niger to return the country to democratic rule. But that ultimatum has elapsed, and so the status is that it has failed. We understand, though, that even though there is a military intervention or a standby force has been activated, there are still diplomatic negotiations happening. We know that some people have tried, both, from the African continent and even internationally. We know that people of high diplomatic repute have tried to speak to the junta to return the country to democratic rule. So those are pending, diplomatic negotiations and military intervention. Now, here is what the ECOWAS standby force looks like, right? So it's a brigade of 5,000 troops. The projected annual cost will be $2.3 billion. Now, for deployment of troops on demand, the projected annual cost is $360 million. So we're still bringing you the highlights or the story so far since the Niger coup and all the important details. Now, this one has to do with the points of disagreement. When you look at the minority in Ghana's parliament, it wants a promotion of the respect for international law, treaty obligations, and the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means. The majority in parliament also wants adherence to the principles enshrined in, or as the case may be, the aims and ideals of the Treaty of ECOWAS. Now, this is an interesting picture of what the armed forces personnel in ECOWAS countries look like. So in Cape Verde or Cabo Verde, you have 1,000, and in Senegal, 19,000. The Gambia has 4,000. Guinea-Bissau, 4,000. Sierra Leone, 9,000. Liberia has 2,000. Then you come to Guinea, which has 13,000. Cote d'Ivoire, 134,000. Ghana has 16,000. Togo has 10,000. Mali, 21,000. Niger, 10,000. Burkina Faso, 11,000. Benin, 12,000. And Nigeria has a staggering 223,000. And this is the armed forces personnel in the sub-region. Now, when it comes to budget allocations, and we do it in Ghana cedis, contingency budget needed, headquarters and agencies need about 3.74 billion. Construction of forward operating base or a northern border security, we need 262.1 million cedis. For defense advisory services, we need 10 million cedis. And ammunitions and other accoutrements, we need 10.21 million cedis. Again, this is in Ghana cedis. So I'm sure the premise has been set. Let me now bring in Professor Kojo Epiejei-Etia. Good morning to you, Prof, and I appreciate your time here on the show. Quickly, let's delve into the the aspect of international law in this particular matter. We heard yesterday from ECOWAS and ECOWAS reps who dismissed claims that ECOWAS needs the express permission of the UN Security Council before invading Niger. Your quick thoughts on how this has panned so far and the international law dimensions.
Thank you for having me. Yes, the first point we need to establish is that what the military junta did in Niger constitutes a violation of international law. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights has made a ruling brought in by Jawara, the former president of the Gambia, that where a coup d'etat takes place, it violates the sovereignty of the country, as well as the self-determination of the people of that country. And so that situation calls for a restoration of democracy. And it also is international law, the principle of recognition of government. Recognition of government is acknowledgement of existence of a government, and this comes about where there is an unconstitutional change in government. And so the OAU, before its demise, identified certain situations where there's a change in government that could constitute or could be termed as unconstitutional.
Sorry, Prof. I'm really struggling to hear you, if you don't mind, and if you can you speak up a bit?
Is it better? I've tried to reposition myself.
Much better.
Okay, so I'm saying that the OAU, before its demise, also brought in some elements we call unconstitutional changes in government, where there is a coup d'etat, where there is mercenary activity, where soldiers from outside the country is brought into the country to constitute a change in government. And then where there is a civil war, change in government through civil war, like what happened in Liberia and former Zaire. And then we also have a situation where a government refuses to leave office after elections have been held. And we have several examples on the continent. Then the fifth one being a situation where the constitution of the country is changed. Normally it's a two-term process, but the constitution is changed to allow for a third term. And that is found in the African Charter of Democracy, Elections, and Governance. If we put these issues on the table, certainly we have a situation where there's a violation of the rights of the people of Niger. And I was listening to one of the ministers or whoever from Niger saying that the survey indicates that the people are not in support of the situation. So there are two governments here. The government that has come to power through illegal means, that is now the military government, and the government that is considered as the legitimate government led by Bazoum. So ECOWAS is saying that it is giving recognition, collective recognition to the Bazoum government. So in the eyes of ECOWAS, the Bazoum government is the government that is in power. The military doesn't seem to exist. And if Bazoum was out of the country right now, he would have sat in any ECOWAS meeting representing the people of Niger. And so in that context, we can see that Bazoum can ask for military intervention to enable democracy to be restored in Niger. And so ECOWAS can go on that basis to intervene. But that is a legal aspect of it. The question then is where the security people come into the picture.
Right.
Do we have what it takes to go to Niger and orchestrate a return to democratic governance? And so in that situation, there is also a place for international law. That is the use of diplomacy, and the use of peaceful means to resolve the problem. And I think ECOWAS sort of jumped the gun by immediately giving an ultimatum to the government, the military government, to return the country to democratic rule in 1 week. Normally, the procedure that the African Union has set does not give such a short time frame for a return to constitutional rule. And the process is also not through as ECOWAS has gave away to the
Prof,
government to accept. Yes.
So, Prof, do I get the impression that you don't agree with those who say that ECOWAS needs the permission of other bodies like AU, the UN, before invading Niger?
No, the UN, they don't need the permission of the UN to go to Niger. The AU has already given its permission or has endorsed what ECOWAS is doing. Usually the two work together. So the AU has given its, has endorsed what ECOWAS should do in Nigeria. And we can rely on Article 4H of the AU Constitutive Act, which calls for intervention where there is instability or where there is the likelihood of genocide or other crimes against humanity, international crimes being committed. And in that situation, the Peace and Security Council of the AU will meet and make a decision that there should be an intervention to restore order. And I understand that a meeting has taken place, and ECOWAS and AU has endorsed the ECOWAS decision. So that, on the face of it, is settled. But then the question is, diplomacy is not off the table. So initially, there should be the process that the OAU sets for the AU is that there should be a delegation sent to the country to negotiate, to let diplomacy prevail. Then there will be an agreement that the country should return to constitutional rule. And here, the government that has come to power through illegal means could be allowed to return the country to constitution and take part in the election. But the difficulty or the problem with that OAU approach is that the government that is overthrown is not allowed to take part in the new election. So that is the gap that is there that needs to be settled. And so as we speak now, what needs to be done to ensure that the rules of diplomacy are exhausted before the military action will come in is for the junta to allow ECOWAS delegation to go in there and negotiate to ensure that democracy is restored. And I think it will be the position is that where a country, a military regime comes to power, the military regime itself should not be allowed to take part in the election. And so it is rather the deposed government that should be allowed to take part in the election to test if legitimacy is still the people or not. But in a situation where the dynamic, for example, Wagner, that's the Russian paramilitary regime, is on the wings, and where Russia is asserting its influence in the sub-region, the dynamics have changed. And so probably as a way of compromising, the military regime may be allowed to take part in elections, but they have to civilianize themselves. They cannot stand as commander or captain or whoever. They should be civilians. And then they can stand for the elections, and then the deposed regime should also be allowed to take part as a way of compromise so that democracy is returned to the country.
Prof, there's another angle, a legal one as such, but this is local. So we have the minority in parliament saying that, you know what, President Akufo-Addo, we know that a certain level of commitment has been assured ECOWAS when it comes to Ghanaian troops participating in this invasion, but you need to come to parliament to get the thoughts of Ghanaians and also hear from legislators. Your thoughts on that?
Our constitution doesn't call for the government in power seeking the permission of Parliament before it undertakes such a mission. And we have done other missions where Parliament's approval was not sought. So if you go to Article 40 of our Constitution, it talks about diplomacy and peace, attempts to resolve the matter through peaceful means. It also talks about adhering to the values and norms of the international relations that the country is a party to, including the UN, the Commonwealth, the AU, ECOWAS, and so on. So Article 73 also talks about the fact that in respecting international law, we should also consider our self-interest, national interest. So while there is no direct law saying that the country should take the permission of Parliament, it is in the interest of the country for the President to do so that there will be that consensus. And if you look at the general discussion around the issue, it looks like the majority of Ghanaians are saying that we should not intervene militarily. So
right.
that should influence the decision by the government. However, what I see is that ECOWAS is engaging in saber rattling. It is not necessarily saying that we are going to Niger tomorrow to intervene, because the military analysts will tell you that it takes about 3 months or something. We need the budget, we need the logistics, and so on and so forth. So it is not going to be something that is going to happen today. But they want to create the impression that we are ready to go in. So it's a carrot and stick approach that the ECOWAS is adopting. But the government should be clear about it with the minority so that there is that consensus and understanding, so that they will get the support of the people of Ghana that the military resort will be at the last resort, so that there will be that understanding going forward.
Do you get a sense that this is quite rushed?
Certainly, yes. Certainly. ECOWAS rushed by giving the regime a 1 week ultimatum to return the country to constitutional rule. The OAU rules, as I mentioned earlier, don't say that. It says that the country, the delegations be allowed to send in to negotiate for return to constitutional rule. And then they will give the military regime a couple of months, maybe 3 months, 6 months to organize elections, and then a new regime, a constitutionally elected regime will come into place. So ECOWAS took some missteps here. And so ECOWAS needs to, I think, admit that. But at the same time, having already given that threat, they do not want to be seen as a two-pledged bulldog. They want to still accept themselves that they can do it. And so that is what has put ECOWAS in a sort of quagmire. But I think going forward, indirectly, they can bring diplomacy ahead of the military threat, so that diplomacy will be allowed to work, and force will come in as a last resort. Because even if you look at the rules on international humanitarian law, the just war theory says that if you are going to war and it will lead to an escalation and it will create less stability in the country, you don't go to war. Even though you have the right to go, you don't go. Okay, so if I recall my biblical principle, it says that everything is illegal, but everything may not be necessary. So that is how ECOWAS should approach the matter. They rush in taking the decision, and they don't want to retreat, but they can still give room for diplomacy to take the lead, and then we can see a solution to the problem.
Prof, give me a few minutes to engage Adib Sani. He's a security analyst, and I'll come back to you for your concluding thoughts. Thank you for joining the program, Adib. So we've been hearing from yourself and other experts. Even prior to this coup d'etat, there were suggestions that it would happen. And true to the words of some of your colleagues, like Professor Enin, this has occurred. But it appears that ECOWAS is quite adamant on its decision to invade Niger, again, against the advice of some security analysts. I just want to know what your quick thoughts are on this particular decision and the role of Ghana in all of this.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Indeed, Ghana has a very important role to play within the local, sub-regional, and international scheme of things. In 1999, there was a protocol that was initiated, and it's made up of 9 state members, okay? And it was a protocol on conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, and of course, security. And before that, it was only the UN that had its capability. And I'll cite Article 39 of the UN Charter that states that the Security Council shall determine the existence of any threat to the peace, breach of peace, or act of aggression, and shall make recommendations or decide what measures shall be taken in accordance with Article 41 and 42 to maintain or restore international peace and security. So within even the wider UN level, there is the need to act if there's any, threat to international peace and security. Now, we can narrow it down to the AU level. And we have a constitutive act of the African Union. And to be specific, Article 4H establishes the right of the Union to intervene in a member state to prevent grave violations of human rights. Now, let's narrow it down to ECOWAS. And the mechanism on conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, and security, Article 25, clearly spells out the conditions for application. It says, the mechanism shall be applied in any of the following circumstances: in cases of aggression or conflict in any member state or threat thereof. 2, in case of conflict between 2 or several member states. In case of internal conflicts, A, that threatens to trigger a humanitarian disaster, and B, that poses a serious threat to peace and security in the sub-region. Now take note of the B, that poses a serious threat to the peace and security in the sub-region. So you see, we have every legal means to go into Niger, okay, to restore constitutional democracy. However, we need to ask ourselves certain questions, like Prof indicated. What is the feasibility? What is the practicability? How possible is this? Is war a walk in the park? When Russia invaded Ukraine, they thought it was a special military operation. Now it has become a full-blown war, and it has gotten to a stalemate. We need to ask ourselves, how about our economies? Already, Ghana has gotten an IMF bailout. With what money are we going to war? Nigeria is debt-stricken, over $100 billion. Already, we have issues of human insecurities. Just last year, according to the World Bank, close to 1 million Ghanaians were pushed into the poverty bracket. Nigeria, as we speak, has the highest number of people living below the poverty line in the whole world, even more than India, over 100 million Nigerians. Would our economies be able to withstand that force? Let's also ask ourselves, what opportunities might we be creating for terrorist groups that are active all over the subcontinent? Because according to the Global Terrorism Index, Burkina Faso is the second most impacted country in the world last year after Afghanistan. We have a lot of terrorist activities, especially even in Niger, that even resulted into an ambush in which 4 American soldiers were killed in 2017, popularly known as the Tongo Tongo ambush. Nigeria is still dealing with Boko Haram and ISIS in West Africa province. What opportunities are we creating for them?
I like that. I like that you've opened this box of the issue of terrorists taking advantage of the situation, because it's something that has come to mind a lot of times. Because quite recently we heard of a scenario like that where the military in Niger suggested that it was an activity carried out by these extremists. Let's look at as ECOWAS as a regional body, already struggling with some of these coups that have been enforced prior to the Niger situation, having to deal with insurgencies, having to deal with extremist attacks, and now Niger. Now, some have described Niger as the hotbed, i.e., if we don't get Niger right, there's likely going to be a bad repercussion for the rest of the sub-region. We've just heard from Prof, who thinks that this decision to invade was quite rushed by ECOWAS. Do you agree? Are we treading on dangerous grounds? Are we on the right path?
Okay, so the thing is, there cannot be justification for coups. Coups takes you decades back, and soldiers don't have a magic wand where they can just change your fortunes overnight. Things don't happen that way. And in the past, I've been very vociferous in my criticism of ECOWAS for not able to bite beyond the bark. So I think this is an opportunity for ECOWAS to reassert some level of influence within the sub-region. However, they are hastily doing it, and they are being unstrategic and they are not taking into consideration the various nuances, the various issues that might arise as a result. Now, we are even talking about a wider sub-regional security ramification, because we're talking about Burkina Faso and, of course, Mali, that has stated categorically that any intervention in Niger would amount to a declaration of war against us. Chad says, we are not so keen on, being part of it. Yeah. Algeria, which is not a member of ECOWAS, says, we don't want to have anything to do with it. Libya, as we speak, is in turmoil. They've been fighting for the past few days because a commander from another side was caught. And the possibility of weapons coming into Niger because of the war and trickling down to the littorals, including Ghana, is very high. Okay, we're talking about the terrorist groups who flourish, so to speak, when there's chaos. And I'll give you some examples. When Siad Barre was removed in Somalia, there was a power vacuum over a long time, and guess what? Al-Shabaab filled the vacuum. When America invaded Iraq, there was, sectarian violence between Shia, Sunnis, and all that. And guess what? Abu Musab az-Zarqawi formed Al-Qaeda in Iraq that filled the vacuum. In the 1990s, when there was chaos in Sudan, guess what? Al-Qaeda came in and filled that vacuum. So terrorists love it when there's chaos. Are we ready for the implications? And Ghana, I must say, has been untouched by the terrorism menace. We've been fairly peaceful. I mean, if you compare us to other countries, are we ready for the fallout, the possibility of our security getting compromised? Okay, so in everything we do, we also need to take into consideration the national interest. Are we ready for the political fallout that might arise as a result of body bags brought home containing remains of our soldiers? Happened when Nigeria intervened. In fact, when ECOWAS intervened in Liberia and Sierra Leone, Nigeria funded almost about 90% of it. And in the end, about 1,500 Nigerians were killed as a result of that. Even this was an intervention, so to speak, to create peace, And now we're talking about a military intervention to restore constitutional democracy. We think it's going to come that easy. We need to get strategic rather than getting emotional about this.
Right. So, in wrapping up the conversation, Prof, let me come to you before Adib finalizes it for us. We find ourselves at a crossroads, I must say. ECOWAS is bent on carrying out this invasion. There are some who have suggested that ECOWAS probably just wants to flex its muscles, wants to prove that it's not a weak institution. It can bite hard when it wants to. Meanwhile, we know that there are talks, there are people of very high influence who are trying to get things done, even from the US and other places. So, for you, where you sit, and I must admit that this is not as simple as it may appear to many people. There's a lot of undercurrent playing as well. The former Nigerian president, Bazoum himself, and the undercurrents that are at play in this entire political situation that we are seeing in Niger. What is that one thing that for you will signal our direction towards a successful either a successful invasion or successful diplomatic conversation at restoring constitutional or democratic rule in Niger?
Understand what may have provoked this coup and other coup d'etat that have found has been running up on the especially in the West African fabric. As if you listen to the coup makers, they always cite security as the reason for coming to power. But if you look at security, the security they are talking about is a traditional understanding of state security, where you have the military manning the borders and arms that are used to ensure that there is no invasion and so on. But that aspect of security its importance has waned, especially in this period of democracy and respect for human rights and the rule of law. So gradually, people are moving, nations and international relations are moving towards the recognition of human security, which the AU Constitutive Act itself recognizes and gives serious attention to. The ECOWAS also has a number of protocols that hang on respect for human security. So if we see the issue from that angle, we are saying that the situation in Niger, for example, is because governance, there's mismanagement, and there's lack of respect for human rights. People don't have jobs and so on. That is why the EU, for example, sprang up in support of the coup d'etat without really understanding the dynamics, some waving Russian flags and so on. I think that the solution to the problem is that whether there's going to be a peace agreement or whether there's going to be a sort of understanding of returning the country to constitutional rule, there should be room for respect for democracy and the rule of law. And I'm saying that ECOWAS should stop being a firefighting machine and making sure that steps are taken to prevent coup d'etat. And we should also understand that when we talk about unconstitutional changes in government, it's not just a coup d'etat, it's not just military activity to change government, it's not just civil war, but also the refusal of government to leave office when their time is up or when they lose elections. And at the third term, where a number of African countries are doctoring their constitution to allow for unlimited terms in power. So when we understand the dynamics this way, when there's a need for room to apply diplomacy, we are saying that these measures should be respected. And that is how we can prevent or offset any future coup d'etat. And if it has to be military intervention, it has to be a last resort. And it is better to adopt that approach. Let's live in an unconstitutional regime where ultimately there could be room for return to democracy than to cause a likely havoc, instability in the sub-region, considering what Sani has said about terrorist activities and so on. We are opening the gaps for them. And I'm sure they are sitting there laughing that we have the opportunity to step in. So we need to be very careful about that so that at the end of the day, diplomacy is giving room to work. The military is able to ensure that the Nigerian military is able to ensure that they deal with the terrorist issue and to be able to move the country forward. Democracy is the way to go, but if we are not careful and we rock the boat, then we may lose democracy as well completely. And Russia is also a country that supports such an approach. Russia is less interested in democracy. Same with China, which also has strong strategic interest in Niger as well. So we need to be careful to ensure that when we want to play the democratic game, we are careful we don't cause instability, which can easily affect the sub-region which is already facing some instability challenges here and there.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me end with you, Adib. So, once again, we see Ghana appearing to be, at the front of this, and I'm saying this because, this meeting was held in Accra, 1. 2, we know that the former chief of staff of the deposed president in Niger is here in Ghana, seeking refuge here in Ghana. What signals do these send about Ghana and our role in this entire thing? And also, what must we be doing internally to protect ourselves from any possible opportunity that this may give to other people who want to take advantage of the situation?
Question. But I see a lot of people talking about a meeting in Ghana, to plan a war. I don't think that is the essence of that meeting. Theirs is to assess to the feasibility of any intervention.
But why Ghana though? Why Ghana? Because that's the miscommunication. And again, anybody could take it as a signal of, Ghana saying, don't worry, we're ready to host the meeting. I mean, I'm not saying that's what happens, but how people interpret some of these things. And Ghana appears to be quite pivotal in the conversations. And so there are those who are harboring fears that we may be projecting ourselves for, something untoward?
Yeah, we need to be very careful in order not to cow to pressure from any other place, because we have the opportunity to make history either positively or negatively. Negatively, if we decide to go to war, because it would go down in history as Ghana having been the country where the war was perhaps initiated. On the other hand, I am hoping that we go positively when we would explore other means. And it's quite obvious that the military intervention would come as a last resort, but we would still have to explore the diplomatic options as well. And I am very optimistic that in the end, that is what is going to be communicated. But before I go, you see, we need to talk about some fundamental issues. And I heard Prof talking about the fact that even civilians extending their stay in office and all that. And it's well articulated for students of security. They can go check it out. The African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, Chapter 8, Article 23 is very specific about what constitutes coups. It's not only soldiers that stage coups, even civilians stage coups, and that one we call it constitutional coup. When you manipulate the constitution so you are able to extend your stay in power, when you engage in electoral malfeasance, election fraud, it's constitutional coup because it subverts the will of the people. Okay, so let's not be mistaken to thinking that it is only soldiers who engage in coup. And finally, and this is extremely important, there's too much misinformation and disinformation about Niger-French relationships. Let me say categorically, as a student of security and as a researcher, when the French intervened in Niger, trust me, it's public information. You can check. The number of terrorist attacks reduced significantly when you compare it to Mali and Burkina Faso. And the French have supported in so many ways, in even killing some, terrorist leaders. And I also heard about the fact that 1 out of 3 bombs are what we call it, powered by Nigerian uranium. No, France only relies on 10% of Nigerian uranium. And the companies, the French companies that mine uranium, guess what? 99% of the workers are Nigerians, okay? And I see an attempt by a third force to fill the vacuum like it did in other countries. And trust me, it's not going to bring anything better, but rather reduce the whole thing to a mercenary rule. And we need to be extremely careful about that.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Adib Sani is a security analyst. Earlier you heard Professor Kojo Apieje Etua, an international law analyst, also speaking on the latest in Niger. Well, coming up shortly, government is working towards a more sustainable way of distributing pre-mixed fuel to fishermen. That's my next conversation. Do stay.
So let's talk about premix, and there's something interesting happening in the industry really about automation and what have you. We have here the administrator of the National Premix Secretariat, Nana Broko Asare, to help us understand what the issues are. All right, Nana, so we hear something called the fuel automation machine. What really is it about?
Thank you very much. The automation machine is a system that we have put in place to streamline the sales and distribution of premix fuel across the country. And if you look at this project, it's a clear demonstration of government commitment to solving the many issues that have plagued the sale and distribution of premix fuel. So this system is going to streamline the sales, the distribution, to make sure there's efficiency in its distribution, to make sure there's fairness, to make sure that the fishermen are content and the fishermen are happy, and to make sure that right beneficiaries benefit from Premix 4.
How does this align with the government's commitment towards using technology, for nation building?
To begin with, I would like to give you some background. Premix 4 is highly subsidized by government. Hitherto was subsidized to a tune of about 85%. That should tell you that government is committed to understanding the plight of fisher folks, because the cost of expedition, fuel is one of the most expensive components as far as fishing is concerned. So government saw it necessary to see how they can support our fisher folks. But unfortunately, over the years, we've had a lot of irregularities in the sales. We've had a lot of issues. We've had a lot of hoarding. We've had a lot of issues with regards to middlemen buying premix fuel and then selling it to our fisher folks. And it's been a worry to government. It's been a worry to the fisher folks as well. So what happens is that at the end of the day, the ordinary fisherman doesn't stand to benefit from the subsidies that we are talking about. So government saw it wise to solve this problem. Initially, we've done a lot of education. We've done a lot of law enforcement, but we realized that we are not able to holistically prevent these issues from happening. So government saw it wise to introduce cutting-edge technology to solve the problems that we find ourselves in, so that we can take away the middlemen and make sure that the right beneficiaries get the fuel. So this is going to be a game changer as far as the fishing expedition, or as far as Premix fuel is concerned. It's going to make sure that the right people are getting the fuel. It's also going to make sure that they buy fuel at the right cost. And this is a clear demonstration that government is committed to solving the problems of the fisher folks. And this system is going to make use of cutting-edge technology. We live in a modern world in the 21st century. It is high time we use technology to make sure we push development forward. It's high time we use technology to make sure that at least we're able to solve the problems that confront us. So this system is going to be a stopper. This system is going to bring a lot of efficiency, and it's going to make sure that we have a very clean system as far as fuel distribution is concerned.
Interesting. I mean, when it comes to Premix Secretariat, we thought that you deal with the distribution of fuel. So now that you're bringing technology involved, then there must be some collaborators. What is the collaboration in here?
Yes. To begin, I would also want to take the opportunity to thank His Excellency, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He's the brainchild of this project. Some time ago, he made a declaration that it's high time we digitize premix fuel and distribution. And he's been a very good supporter of this project. I would also take the opportunity to thank the sector minister. She's also been on her feet, Honorable Mavis Hawakumsin. It is a collaboration. So you look at the ministry, we look at stakeholders like the fisher folks themselves. They've been very supportive to this cause, because they are the end beneficiaries. We've been working with stakeholders like Ministry of Energy, NPA, and all relevant stakeholders to make sure this project happens. So it's been a collaborative effort, but we can't take out especially the end users. They've been very supportive, because in time past, they've had a lot of middlemen who are cheating them. You've had people who would buy premix for, hoard it, sell it at exorbitant prices, etc. So it's been a collaboration with all stakeholders. Of course, the ministry has been the forefront of this project. The National Premix Force Secretariat, which is an agency under the Ministry of Fisheries, we are the men on the ground, all the staff. We've made sure that this project sees the light of day. And if you look across the country, we have 300 landing beaches across the country. And I can tell you that this project is far advancing. Fisher folks are excited about it. All relevant stakeholders are also very much excited about this project.
Now, you spoke about hoarding and sometimes diversion that we do here. How is this project going to help in preventing diversion and hoarding of this food?
All right, so we run a current system where anybody at all can walk to a landing beach and claims he or she is a fisherman. And premix fuel, as we have it, is about 90% super. So the super that you use for your car, premix fuel is about 90% super. It just has engine oil mixed with it. So premix fuel has other uses. But we at the Ministry of Fisheries intended to power only outboard motors. But you find people like Okada riders who come and buy premix fuel and put it in their motorcycles. You even find people who are able to buy it in large quantities and go and sell it to filling stations, and then they dilute it and then sell it to unsuspecting victims. You have people who buy it for farming activities. So because it's highly subsidized, so they prefer to buy it very, very cheap. Premix fuel was sold, a gallon of premix fuel was sold for about 7 cedis, 20 pesos. It was until recently that we increased it to about 24 cedis. You know, so that should tell you the difference, because a gallon of fuel today is about 70 cedis, about 80 cedis. You know, so if you compare it, people stand to benefit a lot if they're able to buy this premix fuel and hoard it and then resell it. It goes against government. So this and many other things, we realize that, look, at the end of the day, government doesn't benefit from it. So why don't we safeguard it and make sure that the only intended use, that is the fisher folks, we make sure that at least they get the premix fuel. Because in previous times, you go to landing beaches and fishermen will complain that the premix fuel is not enough, it's not to our satisfaction. It's because other people come and also buy. People want to make profit at the back of government. So at the end of the day, you realize fishermen were not satisfied. So what do? We just can't sit down and only complain about the problems. Like I said, we've done a lot of education, we've done a lot of enforcement, but this technology is going to be a stopper, because fishermen today will be given unique cards. Every canoe is going to get a card. So if you don't have a card, you have no business at our dispensing unit, and it's going to be controlled, it's going to be monitored right from tow right to the landing beach. So we are also going to have a dashboard that sees the amount of fuel every canoe is using. So periodically we'll be auditing it to make sure that the canoes are getting the fuel. Middlemen cannot have access to it. It would also reduce the quantities that goes into some of these illegal activities. We are hoping that at least we can reduce it to the barest minimum, so that after all, it's only fishermen who are going to get the fuel. There's another twist even to the story where we've been trying to fight the issue of light fishing. Fishermen today use generators to go for fishing, which is very, very illegal, and a lot of them, after buying fuel for their outboard motor, also buy fuel for their generator. You know, so all of this puts pressure on the quantities of fuel we have to give to these fisher folks. But if you're able to regulate it, and going forward, we want to even put some capping on it and say, look, we know the kind of expedition that you go for. You're entitled to, let's say, 40 drams for the entire month. You know, this would regulate and make sure that at least we safeguard and also make savings to government.
Wanted to intentionally put some people up, because if you decide that canoe A will require 40 gallons a month, probably in February, canoe A will need 80. Expect him at 40, so he won't get the 40. How does he then get it?
Yes, like I'm saying, premix fuel is highly subsidized. And if you look nowhere in the world, can you enjoy subsidy in perpetuity, especially when that commodity has other uses. You know, so if you don't put controls in, if you don't put checks in there, you'd always have issues. It's just like fertilizer. It's subsidized by government, so you cannot say you're going to give it in perpetuity or as many as you may want, because at the end of the day, you find people who may want to smuggle it to other neighboring countries, so you need to put in control. So this capping system, we've now started the engagement. We're going to sit with all the stakeholders, the fishermen themselves. They know averagely how much they use. Just like your car, you can give an average figure that you can use for the month. We may not be able to get it exactly, but we need to start from somewhere, and we need to put in controls if we want to save government some money. And if we want to make sure that fishermen also benefit from this system, we of course need to put in some controls to make sure the system is effective and is efficient.
You made mention of a dashboard and other mechanisms. Is that what is going to give you real-time monitoring of what's happening, or there are some other things you're going to add on?
Exactly. This system is a real-time monitoring device. Right from our office, we are able to even see what is happening in the tanks. We are able to see the stock levels. So, of course, in previous times, when fuel is dispensed into the tank, there are times where fishermen can even connive with this middleman and then siphon everything out in the next 1 hour or 2 hours. So this is real time, and it's going to trigger, if anything is going wrong, there are triggers at every level to make sure that even this canoe is not taking more than is required. So it gives us real-time monitoring. We also have a database of all the canoes in the system. So any canoe that is not in the system cannot buy. And even to begin with, if you don't have access to the card, the machine is not even going to dispense fuel to you. So this is an airtight system. We want to make sure that the controls are there to minimize all the illegalities that confront us today.
This brings in mind transparency and accountability.
Yes.
Yes, you're going to see the real time and what have you. Yeah. But how does this system help not you alone, but all of us who are stakeholders of this, to then, measure how transparent and accountable the system and the secretariat will be in managing premiums?
All right. So this system is going to be very, very transparent. If you look at the system or current system that we have, it's a cash system. Fishermen sometimes come to the landing beach and they use manual system in dispensing the fuel. There are times where they are even shortchanged. You want to buy, let's say, 40 liters. They have their own way of calculating. Sometimes at the end of the day, you are giving 35, you are giving 30. I remember very well when we had to test run the system. Fishermen were very, very excited because they saw value for money. Going forward, we even want to take the cash out of the system, where you are able to load your money onto your card. So when we take cash out of the system, it also reduces the corruption. It reduces people having access to money and using it for some of these illegal activities. So it's going to be very, very transparent. From the dashboard, journalists can easily come to the secretariat. We'll be able to project for you to see all the data, the fishermen getting the fuel, where this fuel is going to, who is receiving what, and what have you. So it's going to be very, very transparent. We're also working with MPA. They are the regulators. So on their system, they would also be able to monitor what is happening. Ministry of Energy would also have access to it. So everybody real time will be able to monitor what is happening across the country, right down to what is happening even in the tank. So this is the most transparent and efficient system you can ever have.
Well, we live in a country where, you just heard the other time when the Minister for Foreign Affairs was lamenting about how some people are sabotaging the online passport application system. So it means that whatever you do, people will find a way to go around the system. How will the system, ensure that it is able to, cope with people who would want to go around it to perpetuate their, illegal business?
Yeah, that reminds me of a proverb that says that as long as the bird learned how to fly without perching, the hunter also learned to shoot without missing. Yes, of course. When projects like this are ongoing, I'm sure the other unscrupulous people would also be trying to find ways and means to work around the system. This is an up-to-date machine. This is a cutting-edge technology that is able to adapt to the changing demands and of our needs, and at every point in time we have engineers that have studied this system to make sure, one, like I said, is very, very watertight, to make sure we close all the loopholes. We studied the system for some time. We know of all the illegalities across the chain. I think we've piloted this project. Currently, even MP has a way of even monitoring even our tankers right from Tor to the landing beach. But we realized that we need a holistic system that will be able to reduce all of these illegalities. So this system to begin with is airtight. It will be extremely difficult to circumvent your way around it. But the second feature about it, like I said, it has a way of adapting, has a way of changing. So as we go along, as we realize the challenges along the line, we'll be able to adapt to the needs of what we specifically want to do. When the system started initially, it wasn't even supposed to be it was supposed to be even a cash system. But because of the way the card is, we realized we will be able to even load money onto the card. So it's made in such a way that we'll be able to change to suit our specific needs and to make sure that nobody's able to circumvent around it.
Okay. And this system will be launched on the 29th of August.
Yes.
In Elmina.
Yes.
How does this tie into government's, whole issue about technology, innovation, and to bring about efficiency in the system?
Yes, the system will be launched on 29th of August by the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Like I said earlier on, this project is his brainchild, you know, and we thank God for how far we have come. And this project is a clear demonstration of government's intention to use technology for progress and for advancement. We live in a world today that we need to take advantage of technology. There are many areas in our country today that we are using technology to solve or to reduce some of the illegalities. And I am happy that premix fuel distribution hasn't been left out. You know, we have always made the case that the only way we can change the front or the sales and distribution is the use of technology. We've made the case several times, and I'm very excited that by the grace of God, ending of the month, we'll see the launch of this project. And then across the length of and breadth of the country, fishermen can now appreciate the use of technology in their daily activities.
And this obviously will not solve the issue about shortage of premix, right? What are you doing in that regard?
In one way, it will go a long way to solve the shortage. And like I mentioned to you, currently, a lot of people who depend on premix are not actual end users. Like I told you, the system is so porous today that you find people who are not even fishermen who come and buy premix fuel and use it for their own needs. People even buy it and put it in their generators at home. People put it in their machines that are two-stroke engines, etc. So if you're able to launch this project, aside the other benefits that would inure to us, like the health and safety needs and what have you, it's also going to reduce all of these people that are not supposed to get premix fuel. So if that is done, it means that there will be enough, one, for fishermen. So that will also help us address the issue of shortage. That notwithstanding, government is still committed to ensure that we have enough premix fuel in the system to be able to fill these machines. It is our hope that the machines will not even run empty before we refill, because now in our office we'll be able to tell that this tank is running out, so we need to refill. So we'll also address, we'll go a long way to address the shortages that we've been having, and that is our intention, that at the end of this all, the shortages will be solved, the hoarding will be solved, the sale of premix fuel at exorbitant prices than we intend it to be would also be solved. So it is a holistic approach in solving all the problems that currently faces us.
But in the current system, if it's running out,
yes,
the LBCs will call you that our fuel has run out.
Yes.
And sometimes we do get complaints of LBCs who would wait for like a week, two, they're not getting the fuel. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Aside this, which is a brilliant idea, what else are we doing to ensure that together with this, we don't have this shortage that impacts negatively on the industry?
Yes, there's a lot that is being done. Starting from this year, we started the use of condensates. Condensates is a byproduct from our gas plant in Etabo. We realized that studies were done between MPA, Standard Board. We realized that because initially premix fuel is highly, like I said, about 90% of super and a bit of engine oil. And super is also influenced by world prices. I remember last year was one of our most difficult years for us, especially on the onset of the Ukraine-Russia war. It was difficult for us because fuel prices were increasing. So it became very difficult for government to bear that whole cost. But after these studies, we realized that we can introduce condensates, which we have in abundance. So it reduces the super component. That means it also reduces the amount of subsidy government is pumping it into it. So we are solving the problems holistically. We are looking at how we can increase the supply. We're also in discussion with Tama Oil Refinery. Previous years they've had challenges. We've been talking to them to make sure they have state-of-the-art equipment to be able to blend the required numbers that we want, so that at least there'll be fuel every time for the fisher folks. So gradually, I think we are getting somewhere. We are making progress, and we know definitely very soon most of the problems that confront us will be a thing of the past.
Well, we can't talk about premix without talking about politics. I've heard that you're from Eswajaman.
Eswajaman, yes, in the eastern region.
And you're running for the seat.
Yes, I'm running. I'm contesting the upcoming primaries on the ticket of the MPP.
I mean, what is that drive that gives you the motivation that I have to do this?
All right. If you look at the problems currently in Eswajaman, there are there are a lot of problems currently confronting my constituency. You talk about infrastructure, job creation, education. I realized that the constituency has a lot of potential that has been left untapped. And it's that drive to make sure we synergize all of this potential and make sure that things happen. We want to bring hope, especially to the youth. We want to create opportunities. We want to create employment. We want to make sure that the constituency is self-sufficient. We want to make sure that at least there is some sort of life, there's some sort of respite. People are happy, people are content. Things are moving on. Infrastructure is connecting to other projects. We have a lot of farming communities. What are we doing in agriculture? It is this drive to bring solution to my people. It is what is pushing me to contest for the upcoming primaries, and then hopefully also win the seat for my party MPP. And that is the drive that is keeping me alive.
What is that dream for a Sojaman, for which it gives you that burning fuel to say, let me do this?
Yes.
What is the dream for Sojaman?
I want a Sojaman to be the constituency of choice. I want it to be, you know, if you look at the demographics, even geographics of a Sojaman, it is a constituency that I believe has a lot of potential. And I believe that if you're able to position ourselves very well, you look at Accra now, and Accra is expanding. I can do from Accra to Akosombo in about the district capital is at Timbuktu. I can do it in an hour. You know, there's so much we can do. A lot of factories can even be set up. We have a very good connecting road to Accra. You know, unfortunately, some other roads in the constituency are not in the best of shape. But if you look at the connecting road from here to the district capital, it's not too far from Accra. That alone is even a plus for us. If you look at the railway project that is happening, the Mpakadan project, I mean, very soon there's going to be a port there, and it passes through. It terminates in my constituency. Okay. Then there's a ferry that takes you to the north. That alone is a huge potential for us. It's going to open up the constituency. You know, any constituency that you have a port there, it's going to increase trading, and it can be a hub. It can even be a food basket. You know, because there's a rail there, we're able to transport food to Accra and other parts of the country. So I believe there's a lot of potential. We talk about tourism. We have almost all the best hotels you can find in Ghana, you find in the constituency. One other thing that we also have is the river body. It's more like an island. And I ask myself, how many, I'm a farmer myself, how many agricultural farms do we have there that is even utilizing the water body that we have? So there's so much that is left on tap. And I believe I'm the right man to put all of these things together to make sure the youth in the community, in the constituency stay. When people have jobs to do, they don't migrate to Accra to look for anything. Okay. So that is the hope that I want to bring. And that is my core message. I've been engaging delegates, I've been engaging the constituents, and they realize that this is the man they want. I've been around the constituency for some time. I've used my foundation. I've been helping the constituency for so many years now, and I believe now is the time to be able to serve my constituents on a bigger scale. When I become their MP, I'll have the platform to push more for them. I'll have the opportunity to bring more respite to them. I'll have the opportunity to represent them also in Parliament and make sure that their voice is heard.
You're an engineer?
Yes.
I know you have background in geoscience as well.
Yeah, petroleum geoscience.
And law.
Yeah, and law as well.
How do you intend leveraging on all of this?
I think that is leadership. I mean, leadership, you sometimes need a multi-background. It gives you different perspectives when you are tackling issues. You know, when it comes to law, I know how to apply it. When it comes to my engineering, I know how to. So I'm also a businessman. You know, so that multi-background, I believe is also a very good trump card for me. Anytime I'm in the constituency, there are times where I even join my constituents to go to farm because I'm a farmer myself. You know, I'm able to understand their plight and I'm able to give them tailored solutions to their problems. When it comes to business, there are a lot of local entrepreneurs in the constituency. There are times I meet them, we share ideas, we look at how we can progress their business, etc. So this is the kind of man they are looking for. Aside me even cutting across all the, I mentioned about the demographics and the ethnicity. So your man also has almost every tribe in the constituency, and I cut across almost all the tribes also in the constituency. So I'm able to relate to constituents on every level, and it makes them appreciate the kind of work that we want to do. And I believe if I'm given the mandate, we can do more for the constituency.
You said you have an NGO, so it means that you've undertaken some.
Oh, we've done a lot of projects. Just not too long ago, just last 2 weeks, we were able to partner with our partners from the USA. Brought a lot of medical supplies worth about $50,000 to the constituency. We've done a lot of screening, breast screening, doing breast cancer awareness. So we've done so many things for the constituency, education. We've been there for them. We've been there for them, and we hope to do more for them.
You feel you can beat the MP there?
It's not a problem at all. It's not a problem. We have the strategies and we know how to win the seat. Okay. We are just hoping that at the end of the day, our primaries is coming up shortly. The primaries is my focus now. Right after the primaries, of course, we have plans for the general election as well. I have everything well planned, and wait and see. At the end of the day, I'm the incoming MP for Sujaman constituency.
Okay,
great,
beautiful. I love your guts. Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
All the best. But now, as you said, your focus is on the pending primary.
Yes.
Your delegate will be watching you now.
Yeah.
What kind of message do you have for them?
Yes, it's simple. I've continuously been preaching for unity. We need a united front. Sujaman is not a difficult constituency, especially for the MPP. The gap has always been very close. The last election we lost just a little under 1,200. You know, if we put our acts together very well, we get a right candidate. I think we've also had issues in terms of candidate. If you're able to position ourselves very well, present a very formidable front, and we are united, and we should be able to clinch the seat from the NDC. We've had an MP that has been there for 8 years. He was a DC for 4 years, 12 years cumulatively. We've not seen much change. We've not seen much improvement. So we need to be united. It's an internal elections. All delegates to be rest assured. We are one family. After the elections, God willing, I'm going to be the PC. Let's all unite our front and go into this election. And I know definitely we'll be victorious.
All the best, yeah?
Thank you very much.
Sure, and I know that things will be happening.
Great.
But just before I let you go,
all right.
Nigeria has taken off subsidy from premiums.
Yes.
Why aren't we able to do the same?
It's a process. You know, I believe we stand, if you compare Nigeria and Ghana, it's a different zone as compared to us. If you look at our fishing, we do a lot of fishing than Nigeria. We have very suitable, conditions as far as fishing is concerned, and we need to take it in steps. Initially, like I told you, the subsidy was about 85%. We've reduced the subsidy to about 50%. We have to sit down with the fishermen for them to understand the way forward. You know, and our fisher folks have also been very supportive to our GDP. They've contributed a lot to the country. And if you look at our protein intake, fish is one of the most we take in fish even more than we take meat. So whatever decision that we take, we must think about it very carefully and also make sure we stagger it, make sure they understand it. We are talking about this technology. If this technology comes in and they embrace it and is working for them, we can also introduce other measures. Then we can take them off slowly if we want to if we want to take it off. So if you go anywhere in the world, even the US, other countries, they still put in some subsidies for fisher folks.
So will there be a time where probably subsidies will be entirely?
That's an entirely government decision. I wouldn't be able to say a yes or no to it. But for now, what I can say is government is committed to supporting fisher folks. The support can come in various angles. There have even been people who have postulated that, okay, the subsidy can even be taken off and giving them some insurance. We've been trying to look at it from various angles, you know, but we want to take it progressively, you know, because premix fuel has been there for, well, about 20 years now, you know, so if you want to take them off suddenly, it may also create its own problems. You know, it can even affect a whole lot. Fish is going to be we are all beneficiaries of premix. You don't get premix fuel, you don't take premix fuel, but at the end of the day, you buy fish at a certain price because government is subsidizing it for you. So if you want to take subsidy, you're also a stakeholder. You know, so it's a whole chain. You know, we have to look at it critically and carefully. But it's an entirely government decision to take. Of course, we are there as policymakers, we are there as guides. There are times where government engages us. We also tell them what is on the ground. But at the end of the day, governments will take that decision. But for now, what I can say is that government is committed in ensuring that they support our fisher folks. That is what they are committed to doing now.
Thank you.
you so much for staying on the AM show. It's some 19 minutes after 9, and what a show it has been already. Promises to be more exciting as we conclude it. Now, students who've applied for admission into the Regentropfen College of Applied Sciences have a very wonderful opportunity. They have an opportunity to write an examination to qualify for scholarships of between 30 to 100%, yes, you heard me, 100% of their tuition fees. Just as like these are the reason founder of the college, Reverend Father Moses Awinonja, won the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. And this morning, he is with me here in the studio, and I'm super excited to host him because of all the wonderful work he's been doing over the years and continues to do. Reverend Father, good morning to you.
Good morning, babe.
Great to see you. How's Bolga doing?
Bolga is doing great.
Right.
Green and cool.
I love it up there. I love it up there. I mean, my experience in Bolga, when I go there, I just feel at peace because I feel close to nature, the greenery. It's beautiful. But Reverend Father, you've been doing this very wonderful work over the years, and you don't stop, right? When we think you're here, then you're taking us, a step further, and you're doing this wonderful scholarship scheme for students who've applied to. So this is open to all students, right?
Yes, it's open to all students who apply to run, for courses, programs in our college. So we do not want to discriminate against anybody.
Okay.
So that we don't get people complaining.
Right, I get it. So, between 30 to 100%, now that is a big deal, especially for a privately run institution like yours, and we don't usually see that. Even in other places, it's quite a big deal to get 100%. But you're offering that. Tell us why this is important to you.
Well, we've been doing this for years. Even since the inception, we have been offering scholarships of various kinds, from work and study, through to, getting support from the Regentropfen Education Foundation or getting support directly from the college, Regentropfen College of Applied Science itself. We're doing it because we have the principle of being a people-centered university. We're saying we're people-centered because we are training people who are coming out to be the agents of development in wherever they are. And these ones are also supposed to now take our people-centered approach to issues also into the society. And so if we're saying we're people-centered, it means that we pay attention to the needs of the people around us. So the needs of our customers we take into consideration. And also to ask ourselves, why did the college come into being? Mm-hmm. And so, yes, initially it is really a lot of money, but we're also hoping that through whatever we are doing, organizations and companies and individuals will come into now also collaborate with us to be able to take care of these things and even expand it a bit more.
That's fantastic. So take us back to why this all started, because I know that beyond the college, you have some other institutions that cater for education in that part of the country. What birthed this whole institution, Regentropfen?
Well, Regentropfen is a German word meaning raindrops. So Regen is rain in German, and Tropfen, drops or drop, is the same word for in plural and singular. When we started it in 2009, I wanted to be able to look for something more concrete so that I can offer help to the youth and children of Ghana or in Ghana. Not of Ghana only, but in Ghana. Whoever gets help must be in Ghana. So, okay. When we started it, we had almost nothing. Almost nothing. But I decided instead of using that small money that I got, using it just for the 5 children I had at that time, I decided to ask my congregation to help me. To allow me to found a foundation. So they gave me the permission, and the one who gave the money then used it to found the foundation, but made me a director, for life, okay, of that foundation. So since then, we have been working around, and the number increased, and now we're talking about 300, people and youth we are supporting from kindergarten up to university.
That's fantastic. And this congregation is based where?
Well, the SVD is the congregation. It means Divine Word Missionaries. It was a Catholic missionary congregation. And I belong to the German province, but for sure I came from Ghana. So from Ghana province sent me to Germany. So we are working in over 70 countries worldwide. And so
that's fantastic. I love this. And over the years, we've seen how the church has, obviously through fathers like you and congregation, we've seen how the church has influenced education. Even look at some of the top schools that we brag about, and they're definitely linked to one church or the other. So, I mean, admissions have already started, right? So if you haven't applied, you've missed out on the opportunity, but there's always room in the next academic year. So just run us through what the college offers and who qualifies to be a student there.
Well, the college offers 5 diploma programs. That's diploma in accounting, business administration, computer science, agriculture for social change, and basic education, and runs 7 degree programs. That's accounting, business administration, computer science, basic education, agriculture for social change, public health nursing, and general nursing. So the general nursing and public health nursing just started. I mean, we just got accreditation, so we're now going to get the enrollment in. Now, anybody who qualifies to do diploma, I mean, per the standard of GTEC, qualifies to study in our institution to do diploma for 2 years, and after that, the person can just proceed with degree. And if you have A1 to C6 in the electives and also in the core subjects, you qualify to do any of the programs in our institution at the degree program. Now, we also have the mature students, mature entrance exams, and if you come in for the mature entrance exams, you also qualify for the scholarship. So we have tomorrow, Saturday, we have the entrance, the scholarship exams taking place at 9 o'clock.
In different centers.
In different centers. Here in Greater Accra region will be in Ashaiman, in St. Augustine Catholic Church. And that is where we'll have it. Now, people can still apply today. Even if you apply today, you can still...
oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
If you hand over your application today, even online, you do it, but you do not even send in the forms. You are allowed to write the exams tomorrow. Now, we have that, but we also know that there's a large group of people who are going to write their WASI now and who would not be available for this scholarship. They can come in January admissions, and so even in December and January again, we'll conduct so that nobody's also discriminated against, you know, say because I was born at the wrong time. So we have double admissions in the year. August, September, and January, February, and so there is a possibility for people to still come in.
You shared with us how the church started and the need to, you had to create a foundation, but how do you keep it running? Because if you're offering a scholarship scheme such as what we are seeing, it's quite some huge money you're putting in there. You need to take care of utilities, you need to take care of your teachers, and a lot of things to run an institution of its kind. It is still based on the benevolence of your
people. Yes. Wow. I mean, people donate. It's not much, but what we have, we make good use of it, and it's running. We also know, I mean, the tuition fees is different from administrative fees. I mean, so I cannot pay for somebody to get data. So I mean, those things they have to pay, but it's not much. You know, it's just to ensure that other things are taken care of, and then we'll be able to run. Now, but I strongly believe that there are very good people, good-minded people outside there, people of goodwill. Who would want to support. We already have, one person in Ghana who is sponsoring 4 students, so paying the fees. So instead of the week paying the fees, I mean, the person comes in to pay the fees. And so that's already taken care of. We also have, God thanks be to God, 2 other organizations that have offered in total 10 scholarships. So that we have then now, so we can say we have 14 scholarships which are taken care of, so that the college doesn't have to. So, and then we're hoping that others will also come in to support so that the system can be sustained. Because, I mean, the issue has always been that whether we like it or not, there are poor people who are still intelligent and they cannot make it because they don't have the money, honestly don't have the money. Now, they want to be able to identify themselves with an institution and know that this is this institution we will get in and we'll get the scholarship. So, for example, when we started to build the college, I mean, 2011, we started with a library, simple library, because we just wanted to provide for the community. Well, based on our people-centered approach, we realized that it needed more than a library, and so it came out that, the college was then founded, and it has expanded even now to basic school, to kindergarten, to technical school, and to senior high. So, if we should look at it, I mean, all of them, even the secondary school and the senior high and the technical, 95% of the students are on scholarship. Wow. Right, because we also are into girls in science and technology. And so our ladies, even finally, those in agric and science, only ladies, no single boy. And so we realize that our approach is working. Yes, people are beginning to identify us as that we are this way. And since we are promoting, especially science and applied sciences, people know these people, that's what they're known for. That is what they know. And so we go there and we get the best.
I love it. Especially the girls in science bit, because we know that in many parts of the country, girls have been left behind. So it's a great thing that you're pulling us along as we develop. So, I mean, how can individuals and organizations support this very wonderful initiative by your institution?
I mean, just give us a donation or get in touch with us. You want to mentor our students, you can get in touch with us and we will work out how you can mentor them. If you want to help us set up a student-led firm, you can come in, we'll get a model, the students will be taken through our system, and then they come to set up the firm, and the money is given. We will help the students to manage the money well and pay it back, so that there's a revolving fund and so of that sort. So we have we have that portion of the companies and individuals coming in for us to have the student-led firms being formed, but we also have then donations being made either directly into our education fund, or given to the students, so that the person can pay directly. So it depends on how the individual wants to do. And it's not about big sums. I mean, we take any amount because we say little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Yeah. And so our raindrops, every drop is important because, I mean, like Mother Teresa said one time, I am like a drop in the ocean, but without me, there is no ocean. Right. And so the little that I have, I would say that, well, it's little, but when I should add it, it gives life to somebody.
Fantastic. I love this. So we can find your contacts on your website?
Yes. I mean, so www.recas, that's recas.edu.gh.
recas.edu.gh. All right. So that's where you can send your donations to if you're a corporate entity and you want an institution to benefit from your corporate social responsibility. I strongly believe that Reverend Father Moses Awinuya and his Recas deserve all your love and support. If you're also interested in girls in education, you heard him talk about girls in ICT and science. And it's interesting, as we continue the conversation, I just can't help but I've been trying to figure out if I've heard of any institution of its kind in that part of the country, in the Upper East. This appears to be one of...
Well, we have always been pace setters. I mean, we call ourselves pace setters. Reagan Traffic Education Foundation came into being in 2012, and together with the college at almost the same time. And we have been, I would say, the most outstanding organization, but we're very quiet, because I would say that we are dealing with people, we are dealing with the lives of people, so we don't want to make so much noise about it because you get distracted from whatever you are doing. The focus to get there. But those in the villages especially experience us, and so we go to the villages, pick the people we ask around, we're able to pick the people, bring them. And after 2-3 years, they get groomed and you say, wow, these are the people that we brought who didn't. Some of them could not construct good sentences, and then after that, they're even making A1 and stuff.
Wow.
Then you get the fulfillment, you know, whatever thing that it is. So some people just come and they say, look, I just want to make it 1 semester, and it's interesting. They come to the college, they make the 1 semester, and then after 1 semester, they come
want
and
to
say, Father,
stay.
please, I can't go on.
Yeah.
And you have to say, look, I mean, the person cannot go on, so what do? Do you let the person go home? I mean, if the person has, but is playing tricks with us, we'll surely get to know about it. But you really even get to know that there are some who cannot get to eat, you know, and struggling to come for lectures and stuff like that. You can't just let this person just fall off. And that is why we are saying, okay, then use your brains. Come, let's see what happens so that if we can help you a little bit, and then you can then take up the rest, and then we will all together.
Yeah, obviously, because you also want people to take the scholarship quite seriously. So then when you see that level of commitment, you know that people are ready to learn, and that's an important point you make here. So, I mean, I know that personally, you have your own story of how you got your education and why it inspired you to meet this need. Share a bit of that with us.
Well, as a young man, young man, those days, old man, going to school, I saw school uniform as a discrimination those days because I couldn't get one. You know, so I was always falling out, I mean, through school. Or going to middle school, I had to walk 8 kilometers to school and then 8 kilometers back every day barefooted, you know, and without uniform for sure. Some days maybe without breakfast, mostly without lunch, you know, those type of things. So getting that through, and now I went to Bolgatanga Senior High School. Those days, Bolgatanga Secondary School in 1986, I went in, you know, and the experience was then the greatest experience was that I had my first slippers, you know, Chelawot. And so when I got my first Chelawot, I would wash it like, you know, nobody's business. You know, because, I mean, that was my treasure, right? I mean, that shows, I mean, the level of poverty at that time, you know, that I didn't even have slippers, you know. Okay. Now, and then going through it, well, things then went, I had to do all sort of things to be able to get my education through, and then after that I went to Ahmadiyya Secondary School in Kumasi, you know, when my uncle then picked me up and supported me, and then after that I went to University of Ghana, Legon, to do business administration, and after...
That must have been such a culture shock for you, coming into Legon.
Well, that time... But
Kumasi was a good transition.
It was a good transition, and then I was living in Ashaiman with my uncle.
Okay,
so,
okay.
I mean, well... but somehow, the university life is a different life altogether.
Yeah.
So then after completing University of Ghana, then went in to do philosophy in Tamale, you know, to prepare myself to join the Divine Word Missionaries, I mean, SVD. And then after novitiate, I was sent to Germany to study.
How long have you been in Germany?
22 years now.
Oh, that's a long time.
Well, I don't say it. But
do you identify as German though?
Yes.
Okay.
In many
because 22 years is a long time to be there.
In many respects.
And you believe strongly that it's part of your mission to have been there, because that's what helped you.
Well, I mean, I think that God has, I mean, I said that God always has his hand in play, you know. I mean, otherwise, if I had not gone there, or even when I went there, if circumstances did not lead me to whoever, you know, made a donation, I would not have been able to get, I mean, help for all these people. And I strongly believe that God has his mission. I mean, I always say I am the father of the fatherless. You know, that is my mission. So I don't see my mission as anything other thing, but as the father of the fatherless. And so there are many young people who are able to call me daddy because they don't have really anybody that they can call daddy, right? That alone is the fulfillment then for me. And so the 22 years, I don't even see because I was too busy.
I know, right?
I wish I could get 36 hours a day.
Oh, thank you so much. And you told us earlier that you pick up, young, brilliant people from the communities and the villages around. But tell us, your student body, who really, apart from these ones, make up the students at Regentropen?
Well, we have students from Ghana, Nigeria, and Ivory Coast who are currently with us. And I was even one of my first daughters, student daughters, a Nigerian who came to study the first batch, since he completed. I was so proud, because he didn't get anywhere to study in Ghana, and everywhere it was dollars and dollars and dollars. And I said, oh, come over to me. So I picked her up. I gave her 70% scholarship, and it was in CDs, so that made it. So we have that now. We have a different type of, it's a social mix.
Okay.
And that is what we're very stressing on that.
Yeah.
It must be a social mix so that, you don't only have poor people going there. No, it is, a mixture of people who would be able to now design a new work culture and a new social system for the future. And so it is not only people who cannot pay. And if we only had that, it would have collapsed by now.
Yeah.
But we have about 70%, 70%, 50 to 70% who can pay, and they're also there. Now, apart from that, we then have 10 of them are now in the U.S. We have a partnership with Florida Agriculture Mechanical University, and so 10 of them have been.
Do they get hands-on experience with their agric? Because was it in Boga I saw shared trees? Because agriculture is quite important to the people of that region. So I just want to know if there's a practicalization of this agric course that they do. They get real hands-on experience.
For all our programs, we combine know-how with do-how, and that is our specialty. We combine know-how with do-how. Currently, we have a moringa plantation.
Oh, great.
And with the moringa plantation, we'll let them know the economic value of whatever they are doing. So you do it and you see that, hey, we sell the moringa, even if it's not in large quantities, but you see that we sell it, we make money. So it means if you go out and you have a moringa plantation also, you can make it, and we'll help you to be able to know how to manufacture it and stuff like that. We also have our beehives, producing honey. And we don't want chemicals even for the bees, because we think that the bees have to be healthy so they can give us healthy honey. And so we have good beehive, apiary. We also have a little poultry farm which we want to expand now. So in the next few months, we should see it expanding so that the students will also see this is money. Because I always say that we are sitting, I see money everywhere on the streets, in Namo and Bolga. So why should we be poor when there's money all over the place?
I really, really admire what you're doing with the young people in the Upper East region. And we can't help but celebrate you all the time. And I'm really glad that you were part of our first batch of Joy Impact Makers. And this story will forever stay with me. So for you out there in Bolga, I hope to see you very soon. I owe Reverend Father Moses Awinonya a visit. But most importantly, you can participate in that exam. We'll put up the details for you to see. So even if you are in Accra, right? The Ashaman Senior High School is a center. In Bolga, the Bolgatanga Senior High School. In Tamale Senior High School. Navrongo Senior High School. And even the Rekas campus itself in Namo is also an examination center. So on the 19th of August, which is tomorrow at 9 a.m., Reverend Father, how do they do the online registration for those who have not yet applied for the admission?
Well, for now, you just go to CBG.
CBG.
Yeah, Consolidated Bank Ghana, and buy the e-voucher. Just say Regentropen College of Applied Sciences. You buy the e-voucher, and then you have your e-voucher, and then you go on. It's that simple. But we also have it even on the distance. We have the Momo account there. If you pay through the Momo. What will just happen that they will generate the e-voucher and then get in contact with you.
Okay.
Our team is ready. It's working now.
Yeah.
They're sitting down. People can try and see what it works or not.
So the e-voucher, what does it do? Is it what I used to sit the exam, or that's what I used to fill the form? Good.
So that once we fill the form, we are getting it almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then we will get it.
So at CBG, you get the physical form.
You get the
e-voucher,
and then you get the internet and just go.
Okay, so you get onto the website and then you fill the form there. And tomorrow, so please call a friend. Those of you who've been looking for scholarship opportunities is right here in Ghana. You don't need to travel outside to benefit from it. If you know somebody who is interested in all the courses that Reverend Father has mentioned, a diploma and degree in accounting, they've just introduced nursing. Yeah. All right, so please grab this opportunity while it stares you in the face. I'll be wrapping up my conversation with Reverend Father Moses Awinonya. He is a winner of the Joy News Impact Makers Award, and he runs the Regent Troffen College of Applied Sciences, NAMO, in the Upper East region. Before I let you go, though, Reverend, so my friends on Facebook know that I have a name, right, which is Awenle. Okay, it's an adopted name, though, which means daughter of God. Oh. Yes. I'm just wondering what your Awinonya means.
Awinonya means God loves you.
God loves you.
And I couldn't have gotten a better name.
Yeah, because you expressed it so beautifully. Thank you so much. And we pray for you. We pray for the success of your school. And so please support the school. If you're a corporate organization, an individual, you can make a monthly commitment. It doesn't have to be big, right? Because the school even believes in the concept of gathering. Regent Troffen means raindrops. So the little we gather will build that collective that we all want. Thank you once again, Reverend Father. That'll be it for our conversation. If you missed any part of the show, please just go back on our Facebook page so that you can furnish yourself with all the details and make an informed decision. When I come back, I will be getting interactive with you. It's a moment that I love all the time. But before I do that, though, let me now tell you, it's now official. Joy Prime, Joy FM, and other multimedia group limited platforms are media partners for the biggest carnival in Ghana, the Chalewote Street Art Festival. It's an annual, colorful festival of sights and scenes with thousands of revelers treated to rich African heritage, art, dance, street painting, graffiti, murals, you name it, whatever it is. And trust me, you know, with the multimedia group, it will definitely be an explosion, an exciting one as such. It's going to be a promotion of our creative arts economy while achieving the mission to sell and promote Ghana. And just as the name suggests, Chalewote, it's a flip-flopping event. And we're going to a new location this year in Osuso. Come along. Let's go make unforgettable moments at Osuso. We're going to start all the way from the Independence Square, come down into Osu itself. So there will be unforgettable memories created from August 21 to 27. So do make a date with us. When I come back, I'll get interactive with you. Thank you for staying on the AM show. It's been such a wonderful ride with you. But I need to remind you, have you drunk some water today? You should have drunk some water by now. Water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. There's a perfect size for all purposes, 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. Now, here's what you must do. Drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. This is another quality product by Caterpillar Company Limited. Just call 026-235-1251 for bulk purchases. This advert is FDA approved. Oh my goodness, I'm just hearing that I can't pick any calls. I am extremely sorry about that. I'm extremely sorry about that. Please forgive me. God willing, next week I get interactive with you. I just couldn't wait to hear from you, but as you can see, we've run out of time, and I'm sorry genuinely about that. But thank you so much for your company. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lanza. Up next is News Desk. You want to stay for a news analysis show, and much later at 12 we bring you the news updates. But up next is News Desk with Manyesi Nyamiche Thompson. Have a good morning.